EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Moving a couple days removed now from the Eagles' Week 10 win over the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. And a whole lot of drama, a whole lot of things to talk about today. We'll have two great guests for you today and a full 2-hour show with plenty to talk about. Topics including A.J. Brown, Jaire Alexander, the offense, the defense, and much more. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Doing well. Yeah, it's always something with this team. My God. Could you imagine if they lost games? What a shit show it would be.
Yeah, it really would be.
They actually win. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So for the people who don't know, John, not everybody, I'm sure, is serially online like we have to be at sometimes to cover the team. A.J. Brown was on a stream with Janky Rondo. I know many of our viewers know
Janky Rondo.
He's
Come
awesome.
on, AJ.
He's awesome, Janky Rondo. I know he's not your type, obviously, but this dude is so.
I don't know. I've
funny.
never been on Twitch in my freaking life.
Yeah, I don't go on Twitch, but I do know Janky Rondo. He's funny. But AJ's good friends with him, and he was on there with Janky Rondo, and Janky asked him, "Everything good?" And he said, "No. Where have you been? Family's good. Everything else? No. It's a shit show. You want some how you been? I'm struggling, brother." And then there was another clip from the same stream where, he was playing Madden with Janky, and he put up 170 yards, 9 catches, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then he says, "That's about the only football highlights I'm getting this year." So A.J. Brown has now made some more headlines this week, not in the form of a social media post, but in the form of a stream with Janky Rondo.
Janky Rondo. Yeah.
John, what do you think, man? What do you think about this?
Gotta stop it, AJ. I love you, dude. I think he knows. He watches the show sometimes, and I'm appreciative of that. Gotta stop it.
Man,
Stop it.
I'll let you talk about this. I want you to elaborate on your thoughts before I check in here.
Look, he's 100% right. The offense is a shit show. It's a mess. It's a disaster. And I'm talking about the passing offense, particularly. The running offense has been ineffective. And that's the problem. And this is not new. Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday, and I told you before we jumped on the air here, I did go back. They had 7 worse passing games last season than they had in Green Bay. 7. This is not new. This has been going on for a very, very long time. So that part of it, I don't understand why people get. Well, I do, because they won the Super Bowl, so nobody cares at the end of the day. But it didn't make the problem go away. And the problem, it's again, the passing offense as a whole this season has been better, believe it or not, than last season. But it's still a shit show. And there's no doubt about it. It's awful. And when you talk about the talent, which, at some point you have to entertain the conversation that it might be a little bit overrated. Bottom line. Because people just say that. They just say it. Well, there's no way this is the best offense in the NFL, best playmakers, best talent. Should be best talent. At some point, you got to entertain the fact, especially on this week with Detroit coming in. You know what? They have better offensive talent. Period. They might not be a better team, but they have better offensive talent.
Do they have better offensive talent, or do they utilize their offensive talent better?
Well, both.
Okay.
They have better offensive talent. Because to me, that depends. Like, you can talk about the greatest traits guy from the combine or the greatest traits guy in any sport, NBA, whatever. They're rarely the best player. Rarely. When the two meet, you really get something special, like a Michael Jordan, LeBron James, etc. when the two meet, which is very, very rare, usually the most gifted person is not the best player. Usually. So at some point you have to entertain that conversation. And they are by no means the most talented offense in football. They by no means should be the best offense in football because they've shown no evidence of it at any point to be at that level. So that's where I would reconfigure things right off the bat. But getting things back to AJ, I get why he's frustrated. And the 4th and 6 play, I hate the term rogue. That was going around yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, you either want him to have some autonomy at the line of scrimmage or you don't.
Yeah, and that's just a bad decision by Jalen and AJ.
It is, but my point on that was like, again, you either want them to have some autonomy or you don't. If they have it and they make that call, it's a bad decision, but you're going to take the good with the bad. They're not going to make every good decision.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that you have to understand the situation. And Nick's the guy. I think people think they want Nick to bury people, but if he did bury people, I think they would hate it. But clearly he's not calling that play on 4th and 6, or Kevin Patullo's not calling that play.
Yeah.
So, changing the play and taking that shot. And if it works, everybody's happy and everybody's, oh, they're great and this and that. No, it's still a stupid decision in the situation, the time, the game management. And that's why the coaching staff and Nick comes off looking like a goofball. And you got to protect your players, and that's what you should do as a coach. But the offense as a whole, there's this, and I've been talking about it around and this is the NFL as a whole, because I mentioned my respect for defensive coaches, starting with Vic, but a lot of defensive coaches. I like defensive coaches better than I like offensive coaches. And the reason why is because offensive coaches have every advantage. They try to gimmick the rule book to help the offense, not the defense. And these defensive coaches go, all right, you screwed us again. Let's figure out how to deal with it. And how they figured it out is havoc plays. And that's what people call just the all-out jailhouse blitz shit, where you're bringing more people than they can block. And it creates, sometimes you leave yourself open on the back end. There's a lot of people who do it poorly. There's a lot of people who do it well. There's a lot of people, most people are in the middle, like everything else in life. But what it does is create ugliness on the offense. It creates ugliness. And the Eagles are really bad at handling that and seeing that ugliness. Usually, like Minnesota, they were great. But that's an outlier. They're really, really bad at it. Most teams are bad at it, and that's why defense. And there's always, to every action, there's a reaction, and that's been the reaction of defensive coaches to try to deal with the handcuffs they placed on them. All right, you're going to do this. The adage in the NFL is either get the quarterback, meaning get the big time quarterback, or get to the quarterback, meaning affect him. And then he can potentially win the game. And that's how the defenses around this league, not just here, everywhere, has sort of morphed into, or at least more. And I think the Eagles have a really difficult time handling that havoc that is being created. And they do get more unscouted looks than everybody. That's part of being the Super Bowl champions. Everybody's giving you their best shot. All of that is true. My lot has told me multiple times they prepare for what happens on the film, like all coaching staffs, and then they show up on game day and they're doing something else because it's the champions and they're trying to throw every curveball they got, and they're not handling it well. But last year, the only difference between this season and last season is they had the crutch of the running game. And now that's gone. And now it looks uglier. As I said, the passing offense is actually slightly better than it was last year.
Statistically, just statistically.
Yeah. Well, Devontae's having a great season.
Yeah, but isn't it? You know what I mean? But like, it's not like they've done anything philosophical to improve the passing offense.
No, it's the same. It's still a shitty passing offense.
Yeah, it's still a shitty. They got a couple better numbers this year. That's about it.
But the fact that people think this is new is mind-boggling to me. This has been going on for a long time. And then comes the assigning of blame, because everybody wants to blame.
Exactly. That's where I was going next. Not blaming somebody, but asking you where you think AJ sees as the blame, or where you think AJ's frustration lies. Many people speculate it's the offense, it's Kevin Patullo, it's the scheme, it's Nick Sirianni's risk-averse scheme. Others will insinuate it's Jalen Hurts, it's the quarterback, it's some of the struggles that he has with moving the ball consistently through the air. Where do you see it, John?
Well, I know people hate the ultimate team game shit because they want to tie it up in a nice tidy bow and say, this is the reason. And you can't do that because it's multiple reasons, but I think you can rank it. And it's, the effectiveness, the lack of effectiveness in the run game is the new sort of wrinkle thrown into the whole thing, which makes it more difficult even than it was last year. But as far as quarterback versus, it ain't the coaches. He said that on multiple occasions. Now, again, I shouldn't say it isn't the coaches, because it isn't the play calling. It's the philosophy. That's part of it. So that's part of coaching,
which is more set by Nick, right?
Yes. The philosophy, the over-cautious philosophy is part of it, which is, so I shouldn't have said coaching, but I meant in an X's and O's standpoint. So the over-cautious philosophy, risk-averse, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to call it, conservative. People hate that term. So whatever label you want, use it. And then there's some angst with the quarterback not throwing the football when plays are open. And you see it every week, all these film nerds, and he's breaking open. And, I don't like that because you don't know the progression, number one. And sometimes
I struggle with that too. People watch AJ open on a screen and they're like, "Oh, got to throw it to him." Like,
exactly. Like they're an owl, and they can toggle back and forth with their necks, and you got a progression on each play. So I'm very cautious with that. And when something is, you try to ask as many people as possible and say, what went on here. And sometimes it's simple as, hey, the play was designed to go on the other side of the field, yada, yada, yada. But look, anybody who watches the Philadelphia Eagles, if you're going to take off the green colored glasses, the football does not come out on time far too often. So when there are, and windows in the NFL tend to be very, very small. So even big time receivers like AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, if they're open, they might be open for a click, and then they're going to close up again because of the talent of the people on the other side of the football and the best athletes on the field. If you're going to rank athletes in the NFL, the best athletes are defensive backs. So they're going to close holes quickly, especially good ones. And if you're late, you see it all the time. And take the Eagles out of it. Watch other teams. If you're late throwing the football, that's when bad things happen. If you don't throw the football, bad things don't happen, except ugliness.
Yeah. No good things happen, but no bad things happen.
Yeah.
No risk it, no biscuit, John.
Exactly. And that's where the Eagles are.
Hard to say. I can't. Hard to say. I don't feel for AJ Brown here. I mean, I know people don't like that he keeps doing this publicly, but I come on the post game show on Monday night, and I'm like, this offense sucks. It's like, if I'm saying that, how do you think AJ's feeling? Who's obviously believes he's worthy of, boatloads of targets, boatloads of catches, and boatloads of yards because he's proven that he's that caliber of player. I mean, they throw 2 balls to him and then they throw a BS, downfield pass at the end of the game, which was really barely even a target, but it was, I guess. Hard for me to disagree with AJ here because I know people will always go to AJ is selfish. I have the belief I don't think that either. I think AJ is saying this: we are not going to win the big games at the end of the year with this offense. We need to be better. And that's been my whole point when I bitch about this offense, even after a 10-7 win in Lambeau. We don't have the running game. People say January football, you need great defense. You also got to be able to run the football. We don't have that this year. We also don't have the passing game this year. Does anybody really think we're going to win a playoff game versus the Rams if you can't run the ball and you can't pass the ball? Now, hey, maybe you hope that you have those one-off games or there's one game that comes every once in a while where everything clicks, but that ain't a good strategy in my opinion.
Yeah, and the problem is they did it last year, so
yeah, but they had that running game, man, clicking for.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is they did it in an unconventional way that you're not supposed to be able to do.
Right. That's
very so now. There's to every action, there's a reaction. The reaction from a large portion of the fan base is, well, they did it once. Why can't they do it again? And they're number 1 seed in the NFC. So they're further bolstered by that. Now, if you want to go back to 2023 in the San Francisco game, what broke the Eagles, so to speak, maybe have that situation with Detroit. I don't think you're going to have that situation because your defense is good. So I think it's going to be a close game. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. I don't see anything breaking the mindset of, hey, this is how we do it. We're the most successful team in football. We get unscouted looks. Look at what people are doing to stop us. Let's stay the course. And I don't know how you change course at this point anyway, by the way. It's not like they tried that with the defense, which was the worst decision of the Nick Sirianni coaching era. Yeah, moving, not that Matt Patricia isn't a better coach than Sean Desai, because he is, but you can't change philosophies in the middle of the season and expect success. So that's more of an off-season conversation, and that'll depend on them losing. If you want them to change, that's the catch-22. You have to almost expect they lose and lose kind of ugly. And nobody wants that, presumably, watching this show. It's catch-22, man.
Yeah, I struggle with the idea that if we had a better passing offense, we would just lose more games. Like,
was it Kerr who asked me the question? Look, if you had the coaching staff locked away and holding them hostage and got them with truth serum, would they rather have Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts? He asked me that question, not in the way I phrased it, but I'm trying to say, how would you get them in that, where they're being completely honest? Unsourced. They're not going to put their name on it.
No
hesitation. Zero hesitation. And then he asked me, which I thought was a good question, would they win more or less? My opinion, it's just an opinion, they'd win less.
I don't think so. I don't know why you say that, because you still have the defense. You still have,
because you're not being hyper focused on ball security. That's how they win, because they have the great quarterback. So they're taking chances. That leads to picks. That leads to interceptions, even to the best.
Why doesn't everybody do this, John? Why doesn't everybody just not get a high volume thrower, not care that much about passing the football, and just play this risk averse game? I mean, the Eagles are winning games, and they're not even good offensively, passing or running.
Because how do you get people to buy in? You can't get. You see all the angst here.
Yeah.
Like Mike's coming on, Mike Gill. He and I are
before we get to Mike, we got to hit, because I don't know who saw our our breaking news show last night. Just the news on Jaire Alexander, John. Give the people the update on that and what happened there. I just want to make sure we do it here in the open of Birds 365.
Yeah, Jaire stepping away from the game, to get himself back to a better position, both a health standpoint and a mental standpoint. I think he's struggling with that knee pretty mightily. He's not the same player. You're talking about a former All-Pro player. That's why everybody was excited, because at one point he was one of the best cornerbacks in football. He's not that guy, and he's not that guy physically. And who knows? He got here. He practiced. He seemed happy. He seemed excited to be part of this team. Very similar to Zadarius Smith. This has been a crazy season. Zadarius was so hyped to be here, talking about how much he had left in the tank, and all of a sudden he's gone. Same thing here. He's excited to be here, and now he's stepping away. Now he hasn't retired, so in theory, maybe he, I don't know if the Eagles would want it at this point, but who knows? I'll get down there today and talk to some people. But stepping away to the game, trying to get himself right. And remember, that's what the Eagles were going to do anyway. He wasn't going to play early. The hope was to get him as healthy, get him on a good rehab plan, get him with their doctors and training staff and rehab people, yada, 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 and get him as healthy as possible. And maybe down the stretch of the season, he'd be able to contribute. That was their goal. In theory, from what he's saying, he's still going to try to do that, get himself right, but he's going to do it by himself. Maybe he's dealing with some mental health struggles. That's a big thing now. I don't know, but it was framed from a mental standpoint as well. You can't count on him. That I can tell you. So you're going to move forward. I expect him to start Jacorian Bennett's practice window today. And Adoree Jackson probably played his best game. It's interesting. Keely Ringo played his best game before the bye against the Giants. They went back to Adoree, who was out with a concussion. He played his best game against Green Bay. So you're getting a little bit of better play. And you throw Bennett in the mix as well. Maybe it's a mix and match situation, depending on the opponents, depending on what you need. But I think they're good enough elsewhere on the defense now that you can sort of mask that any deficiency with that cornerback too in the nickel.
All right, good stuff there. Jaire Alexander steps away. Obviously, hope everything is okay with Jaire mentally and physically. But he does step away. One super chat, and then we'll get to Mike Gill. JD says, I'm Team A.J. Brown. 700 yards is criminal. I think that's what he's on pace for. He's handling it better than I would. He should slap Hurts for every 3 throws without a target. It's a little harsh there, JD.
Yeah,
but
I don't think that's going to work well. Yeah, actually, well, let's bring Mike up, because that's where I was going. Mike's a basketball guy. Like, to me, like I always said,
here on Birds 365,
Larry Brown is the smartest basketball mind I've ever been around when I covered basketball. And if I'm down a point and I want to draw up a play to win a game, I want Larry Brown doing it. If I want to win a championship and I want to manage personalities and I want to get everybody to the finish line, I want Phil Jackson to coach. It's a bigger job than X's and O's, and to the point of the commenter, you should slap Jalen Hurts. No, you got to get everybody on board. How do they win like this? How do they win unconventionally? Zander just asked, why doesn't everybody do it? Because it's hard to get people to buy into this.
Yeah, I was listening to that, and you asked the question, Zander, which is fair. Why doesn't everybody else do it? Because they can't. They can't get everyone to buy in, and they don't have, every coach wants to be the boy genius. They want to be the guy that calls the plays. They want to be the guy that's overly in charge, and then it falls apart most of the time because you can't be on top of everything. Only the true elites are able to call plays, manage the clock, know how to deal with the defensive personnel, know when the right time to punt is, know when now they went for it the other night, and that was not the right time. But generally, there's not too many times in the Sirianni era that we've been complaining about clock management and bad timeouts. And, last year they didn't kick a field goal in one of the games and people went nuts for a week or two. But that's really in 5 years. He's really good at managing clock and all that stuff and being a CEO coach. And most coaches get hired and they want to call the plays. And it's just so much on their plate and it doesn't allow them. And then, they fall under the pressure of, I have Justin Jefferson. I have to get him the ball. And not that it's a bad thing to want to get Justin Jefferson the ball, but it hasn't been a recipe for winning football games for Cincinnati and Minnesota and teams that have these high-profile wide receivers, and then they try to acquiesce to them, and they're in shootout games because they don't have the right.
How can I compare the Eagles organization to them? Like, the Eagles have a better team. So if you're telling me a better passing game,
Minnesota won 14 games last year.
Yeah, and then they made every bad decision at quarterback. But yeah, I mean, that's fair.
But exactly, Cincinnati was in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. I mean, they have a quarterback, they have a number one wide receiver, and they stink because they can't. They don't have a winning formula because they try to use the one piece that they have that they think is best. Now, would the Eagles be more fun? I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. We text back and forth all the time. And we talk about how bad the NFL product is. It's an awful, awful
it really is.
Right now.
It's awful.
Thursday night football, 22 accepted penalties in the game. Now, somebody texted, because I said Thursday night football, you got to get rid of it. Move it to Friday. No one gives a shit about high school football. If you want to go to a high school football game, you're going to go, right? Move the game to Friday if you want to do something. But 3 days rest is not enough. But somebody said, well, the game on Monday night, they had all this rest, and it was 10-7. But I said there was only 11 penalties in that game. But my point of this is, he says, the Eagles are so tough to watch. They're not entertaining at all. And I said, that stadium will be full no matter what. It doesn't matter if they score 3 points. As long as they keep winning, people will keep going. But this is what they are. They are not a fun. I talk about this offense is painful to watch. It is not fun at all. And every time the Eagles line up on the field offensively, they have the more talented unit. And to score 10 points with that unit is almost hard to do even if you try. That's the frustrating part about it. That being said, they are so risk adverse. They were so conservative the other night. They're on the road. They won at Green Bay. They won at Arrowhead. They won at Tampa Bay. They beat the Rams. Like, what else more? Now, I will say this. In 2023, they won at Arrowhead. They beat the Bills. I mean, any team you put in front of them for that first 10 games, they knocked them down. They found a way to win. And then they played the team that really felt that should have beat them in the playoffs. And Detroit feels like they think they should have been in that game. And if they were in that game, they would have won and went on to win the Super Bowl. And you have a Detroit team coming off a week where they just put up a 44 spot against Washington. And everybody's wondering, are they the best team in the league? Well, they want to show everybody on prime time that we belonged in that game last year. You remember at the beginning of the season, guys, they said they wanted to play the Eagles on opening night. They wanted to be that team. I wouldn't be surprised if this could be the game that was the San Francisco moment. And if they can get past this game and beat this Lions team, I think you can start to say, okay, this is who they are. But if this Lions team comes in here and just Rochambeaus you better start watching out about what's to come, because I don't know if you guys saw.
So different.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Yeah. I'd like your comparison right up until. Look, this team has a defense. That team didn't. That team was a house of cards on defense.
I agree. Here's the problem, John. Your defense is good. You can't give up 7 points every week. It's not sustainable.
No.
All right. You're going to play Dallas.
Here's the problem. We keep looking at last year. I get it. We didn't have a good passing game last year either. We did have a great running game. Right now, we do not have a great running game.
Right.
Not even close to one game of good, successful running. I mean, look at the playoffs last year. How did we win in the playoffs? I get it. We win a lot. This team wins a lot of games. Saquon Barkley had 205 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Rams. Hurts threw for 90 yards in that game.
I know.
If you don't have the running game, if you don't have the running game, though, consistently, I am not of the belief that this team is going to run the table again just because they're 7-2 right now through week 10.
Hey, listen, Detroit scores a lot. Dallas scores a lot. Now, they give up a lot, but they score a lot. I mean, for the defense, the Eagles defense, to ask them to keep Dallas within, 7 to 10 points, because that's all we can score. Now, against Dallas, if you can't score more than 10 points, that would be a major problem. The Bears defense has given up a lot of points, but their offense can move the ball. They can score. You got to match a month of November here with teams that can score that you're going to need to try to keep up with in some capacity. I don't know what that number is, 17, 21, but you're going to have to score more than 10. You're going to have to score more than 10. And quite frankly, this is like, this is starting to get like Sixers third quarters where you're just like, okay,
what is it with that team in third quarters, Mike?
Yeah, that was.
I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I don't think Nurse has an answer, and I don't think we have an answer for this Eagles situation. Is every week, and everybody knows the particulars. It's AJ, and I don't know if you guys saw AJ playing video games last night, but he's like, this is a bleep show, and he's not wrong. Like, you have AJ Brown on your team. You threw the ball to him 3 times. You have Devontae Smith. He didn't get the ball much more either. Like, pick one of them and say, hey, today's your day. You're getting 15 targets, brother. We're just going to keep pumping it to you. And I get the other part of it. You go under center. They finally have acquiesced. They've gone under center. Now they're turning around and hand the ball, which looks really awkward, by the way. AJ Hurts just does not look like a guy who's comfortable. He's like hopping. And like the handoff always looks like it's going to be like a collision, but they're handing the ball off under center. Great.
Yeah, people think that's easy, Mike. That's the footwork and the mechanics.
Well, when you haven't done it, sure. I mean, but the timing of it. Okay, you're running the ball, not with a lot of success, but you're doing it. Okay, now there's another part of that game that you could use it as a play action. They used it one time and they scored a touchdown on it on a 36-yard pass. I mean, it's like, can you just build off of an offense? You can't be that elementary, Kevin Patullo. Like, I want to give you a chance here and say, listen, you got to grow into the players. It's a timing thing. You got to we're 11 weeks in. You just had a bye, and that's what you came out with. That was it. I mean, I could have got crayons and wrote off on a
ironically,
board and came with a getter. It's unbelievable. Now, the first drive of the game.
The first drive of the game was phenomenal.
16 plays.
And then they fumbled.
And
then it got to, hey, we fumbled. Let's tighten this thing up. Let's be more cautious.
I don't get it. You have so many peels of the onion with what you have in this group here.
All right, that's what I want to ask you, Mike. At what point, and I've been bringing this up, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. At what point do we admit that maybe this isn't the most talented offense in the history of the world?
Well, how do I admit that? I mean, I'd sound like I'm being an ass.
Why does it never perform near that level?
Okay.
Where's the demonstrated performance?
Who is being overvalued would be the question then. Who are we overvaluing?
Exactly. So who are you overvaluing when you say this is one of the most talented? Look, the most talented offense in football is coming into Philadelphia on Sunday night by a wide margin. That's a more talented group. Who is underachieving that makes the Philadelphia Eagles worse than the Detroit Lions?
I mean, there's only one answer to this. Well, the offensive line would be part of the answer here. I mean, Brett Toth is not Cam Jurgens.
By the way, Brett Toth is playing well, man. 2 games. It's only 2 games, but
right.
But his end of the bar.
You've got Steen replacing Becton. Is that
I think in the run game, the offensive line would be the answer. I don't think the offensive line is the answer in the pass game. They're fine in pass block.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you're trying to find the answer. Is A.J. Brown just not the player that we thought he was? I think that's a tough one, unless he's just half-assing it out there and we're not seeing it. Devontae Smith still getting – I mean, he's still
having
producing.
His best season ever.
Right. He's still producing, so it's not – you wouldn't go to him. The obvious answer would be the quarterback is, okay, is he the one that is not having
Why
the
is
year?
that an elephant in the room?
Oh, listen, I thought the other night he had some passes that just looked like what's going on here? Like, and then he misses Calcaterra, and I get it. It's cold, it's windy. Does that play a factor? I don't know what the wind was like at that field. Sure, okay, I'll play along. But I've seen him play in cold and wind and snow and make throws. I mean, but I just don't understand in the Giant game. There's no A.J. Brown, and the fluidity that you had with Devontae Smith. Nice little inch, sharp, catching it on the run, bang, little. I just like, and then he had to throw the other night on third down on the sideline, on the right sideline. He hits Devontae Smith. Those two seem to have some fluidity, but you can utilize that, throughout the game. That's a possibility, Kevin. You are allowed to go to him throughout the game if you have a little rhythm going. Even the stuff with Goddard the other night, he had him, and then he was off. He was wide. He was here. He was there. He certainly was not at his best in that game the other night. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we've had that discussion. I mean, Denver, blah, blah.
We had this discussion after Carolina last year too. And then that what you all want to see?
Run last year. We're 9 games deep, guys. We can't run. Like
Mike,
don't go off one game. We have one game of really good running versus the New York Giants, and every other game has been meh. Last year, we dominated in the run game. It made up for a lot of the offensive problems. If you don't have
Xander's point, I went through this yesterday. They had 7 different games that were worse from a passing perspective last season than what happened in Green Bay. 7, including 2 playoff games, 2 playoff wins.
Oh, the 2 playoff games were pitiful. The first 2 playoff games.
7. It ain't new.
No, this team is, other than last year when they were able to run the ball almost at will. And listen, there were games last year where they weren't running at will. It was late in the game. They would break a big one open. It was like, here's a 70-yarder after, bottled up, boom, 70-yarder. And then like the backbone of the defense was broken. And then they get another 40-yarder like in there late in the game. So, but last year they had the home run. So I guess the other question would be the offensive line. Are they not blocking as well? Saquon Barkley, is he a step slower? Is he not seeing things? That doesn't seem. I mean, it just seems that when he gets handed the ball, he's got someone greeting him in the hole. He bounced one out the other night, and that was about that. He had a 15-yard run, and other than that, he just has nowhere to go. So they're having major problems getting something established. They're trying to get it established almost to the 2 wide receivers are saying, well, okay, this isn't working. What about us 2? You want to try us? They never tried A.J. Brown at all the other night. I think he had 3 targets, 2 catches for 13 yards. I mean, holy Mac, you could put a high school football offensive coordinator out there, and I think he's going to dial up A.J. Brown more than 2 times in the game.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I agree.
But
and the other thing is, like, I keep bringing up the money, and John was like, I don't know why you keep bringing up the money. I get it, because it doesn't have anything to do with the football field. But if you think about it, we literally let all those guys go on defense, which is fine. They got younger. I'm not trying to say. You pay all this money to the offense, and your approach for the offense is not go win us the game. It's literally just don't lose us the game. Like, think about that.
Well, to be fair, they did try to tell the offense to close out that game the other night, and they couldn't do it.
Close it out after a
I will say, so that play, here's the thing about that play, too. They run the same play on 4th down. Every time they go for it on 4th down, they run the same play. It's always the down the field to one of the receivers. Like, that play.
I think they changed that at the line of scrimmage. I don't think that was the play call.
I'm not saying who called it. Okay, because you saw Nick was furious on the sideline saying, why would you do that?
Now, I don't like the term rogue because, an audible is not going rogue, but that's just a bad decision by players in a big situation. on the field.
And it's like they went to a play that they feel comfortable running, and they run that play on 4th down all the time. And generally they do connect on it a lot, right? Where AJ just beats his guy.
Yeah.
But the Packers had him doubled up. They thought, okay, if you're going to throw the ball, we know where you're going. You're going right to this guy on that same pattern every single time, and it did work. So they were aggressive in the one moment of the game where you did want them to be aggressive.
Yeah. And that's an on-field decision. That was a poor decision. So,
well, and that was the beginning of the everything in Seattle, where they went kind of on their own.
Same situation. Yeah. But it's not rogue. You have an ability. It's a poor decision. In Seattle,
well, is there a situation where on 4th down and 6, when it's not running you are trying to finish the game off and get a first down, but you're really you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You really should just punt the ball away. You're not stuck between that big of a rock.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. You have this, and Nick's going to protect him at all costs, but you have this situation where and the same thing happened in Seattle, where the coach protected. Remember, the coach protected them, and looked like an idiot in doing so. By the way, remember that description of what trying to protect the players. And AJ was the one who stepped up and said, no, we did that. And then Jalen basically followed. Ultimately, I think, who knows with AJ and where he is right now, but I think he'll admit that they that was an audible.
But is that a time and score situation where they send that play in and say no check off? Like,
well, that's what at that point, and that's what I'm saying. That's not a good thing. Where at this stage of your career, you got to go, no, we're just going to punt it because we can't try all this. We can't try to draw them off sides because they might go off what the situation deems for. That should be a situation where, like, if you have a rookie quarterback, no, we're just going to punt it, or you're going to go up under center, try to draw them off sides. If not, they might decline the penalty. They might take the penalty. Then you punt it, yada, yada. But,
well, yeah, you take the penalty, you move back 5 yards. It gives you a better punting situation.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario there is the ball that, actually, if you get the penalty, they still
even
go
if
back
you kick it in the end
yards.
zone, you're getting it at
you're gaining 15 yards on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the only play. I get not trying to kick the field goal.
But the point I'm trying to say, Mike, is he should be able to trust the quarterback at this point to do the right thing in that situation. You don't want to be in a situation where your quarterback is not capable of understanding that situation. My whole thing is I want a quarterback who can handle things at the line of scrimmage. Now, there's a lot of coaches who don't, and I wouldn't hire those coaches. I want to strive to get to the point where my quarterback can have autonomy.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, you take for granted that Jalen is going to make the right play. I mean, it is going to acquiesce to maybe I'm not going to throw the ball down the field and I'll just hand it off to say or make the right decision.
What is the right play simply defined as he didn't make a negative play?
Well, the right play to me is my assumption, and I have no idea because Nick's going to protect them. My assumption is they were going to try to draw them off sides. And if it didn't, they take the penalty and they back up 5 yards, or Green Bay might have said, no, let's make it more difficult for them to punt, and declined it. Either way, it doesn't hurt you. And then you kick it.
Yeah.
You punt it.
It actually helps you. It helps you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 5 yard penalty would help you.
That's
that gives
what I
punter
think.
A little bit more room.
That's what I think it was what was going on and what was sent in. And then they got up and they said, no, let's do this. And didn't hurt because they ultimately won the game, but it makes the coach look stupid.
Mike, let me ask you about Patura. Good. Yeah. You can get out what you're about to say.
I was just going to say that. And in the end, like everything, sometimes when you lose a game, it's a good thing because you can learn from it. They ended up winning the game. You hope that they now can learn from that mistake that was made, even in winning the game, because of how magnified it was in the moment of 4th down, 6 late. We can't try that again, even if we have a lead. That's too risk adverse. I mean, that's too risky of a situation. I've been saying all along, I think Green Bay is a very average, I'm just not a big Green Bay guy. They got Micah Parsons. Woo, everybody went nuts. that team's just whatever.
Defense is great.
Their defense is very good. Their offense just does, and this is my reason.
Well, they were down like 100 receivers. I mean,
they were. I agree with that, but they are so conservative. I just feel like
they are too conservative.
Yeah, to me, they're actually, though, I will say this: try to find who the third wild card team will be in the NFC is a challenge. Right
now it's Green Bay, right? They fell all the way down to
Green
7.
Bay is the last team, but look at the schedules of Green Bay, Chicago, San Francisco, Minnesota, Carolina, Dallas. Like, they're all the teams in that like third wild card mix.
I wouldn't sleep on the Cowboys yet.
Me neither. I said that, John.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but look at their schedule. They have a stretch coming up with Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit, back to back to back. I mean,
some of these teams got to win a damn game. Somebody presumably, and to your point about the NFC North, well, they got to play each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So those Minnesotas, Green Bay, and Chicago's are all going to start playing each other. So they're going to start moving to about unless somebody starts sweeping. They're all going to start matriculating to like a 9-8.
Well, situation. Minnesota stinks. You can put that. I mean, their quarterback situation is an abject disaster. So you can cross them out. I mean, that kid can't play. No, he can't play.
I think if you look though, Green Bay, Chicago, they have a lot of coin flip games. Now, if they win those coin flips, they'll start to separate. But if there's coin flips become coin flips and they're just hanging around, you've got San Francisco, who's in a similar situation because they got to play the Seahawks and the Rams. So they're going to have situations where they're going to have problems. You've got Dallas, who's got that gauntlet coming up. Now, at the end, they've got Washington and the Giants to close out their year, but they might have 8 losses by the time they get to the end of the year. So it's going to be a sprint to mediocrity for that last playoff spot. I think the 6 are pretty locked in. It's that 7th one that's pretty interesting.
Mike, talk to me about Kevin Patullo, because this is a conversation between the fan base where not everybody believes it's Patullo. Some believe it's Hurts. Some believe it's Patullo. Some believe it's Nick Sirianni with the risk-averse approach. How much do you think it's Kevin Patullo? Because here's my one problem with Patullo, because I don't think he's done a great job. But what I think people leave out is the collaborative effort that happens all week leading up to games where Kevin Patullo is just the guy calling plays. But it's not like Kevin Patullo is locked in an office all week, figuring out what to call. He's talking to Jalen. He's talking to Nick. He's talking everybody. It's a collaborative effort. Yeah. He's just the guy pulling the strings, but I still don't think he's done a great job. How do you evaluate Kevin Patullo?
Well, listen, he obviously hasn't done a great job. With the personnel you have, to have this offensive output is ridiculous. It really is. Now, that being said, this offense is Nick's offense. I mean, this offense is the same. They just have a different guy calling the play because Nick doesn't want to call the plays. But for the most part, it's like, hey, here's the playbook. Have fun. And it's like, this is no way to really maximize. I mean, even last year, Kellen Moore, they got rolling towards the end with the run game and stuff, but they weren't all that creative in the pass game. And it wasn't like, man, this is fun. Look at this. And it's a similar situation where Kellen Moore at least had a little experience of being a play caller, and I think had a little better rhythm of it by the end of the year. Kevin's learning on the fly in a situation that is not conducive to being successful. Hey, we want you to be risk-averse. We want to take care of the ball. We want to run the ball first. And I would say this to the Eagles fans. I think Patullo has done a lousy job if I'm just saying, hey, how's the offense? It's not good. It's an average offense from week to week. They're average.
I think below average, but I digress.
Regardless, okay, the Giant game, they're above average. The Minnesota game, they're above average. They're good.
It's 2 out of 9 games. Every other
too much of this and this and this. And for the most part, when it all equals out, they're just an average offense with really good personnel.
Well, the numbers would say, they're a little bit below average, but they were last year as well. So
that being said, the Eagle fans on Sunday night should almost give this guy a Trey Turner treatment here, because you better hope that they don't fire this
That's
guy.
Not coming. That's not coming.
You better hope that they don't fire this guy. the last thing this team needs is another offensive coordinator. So you better hope that this guy works out and it works and they get it. And
I mean, they might fire him after the season, especially if they don't reach expectations.
Even if you don't reach expectations, you almost can't fire the guy and say, we're going to hire another offensive coordinator.
Well, you know, Jeffrey, the one thing about Jeffrey is if you don't reach expectations, there will be scapegoats. And they're not firing Nick. And the defense is great, and they're not touching Vic.
No. I agree with everything you're saying, except for the machination of you want to hire another offensive coordinator, right? You want another.
I think it'll be very similar to Brian Johnson, and they'll say, "Hey, Nick, you got to go outside the organization to get new ideas." And they'll go outside the organization. They'll try to incorporate all these things, and they'll scale back to exactly what they.
I'd like to see Kevin Patullo, if he's not being told everything has to be the most risk-averse offense of all time. Take the chains off. Let me see what Kevin Patullo can do. I don't even know what the guy can do. We don't even know what he can do.
That's been the problem.
The chains aren't on Kevin Patullo. The chains are on Jalen Hurts.
Explain.
They're risk-averse because they don't
believe
want the quarterback
to throw the ball.
That they don't want him to turn the football over. That's not.
Well, that would still chain Patullo in a way, wouldn't it?
The impact of it changed all the offense. It changed Kellen Moore. Again, the funny thing to me about Kellen Moore, he's been a long-time offensive coordinator. That was the worst passing offense he's ever had in his career as an offensive coach. That was the worst passing offense.
You can go back to all the coordinators, Shane, Brian, Kellen. They all had problems in the pass game, and there's one constant. The coordinator keeps changing, but the problem continues that the pass game in 5 years has been amateur hour.
Exactly. That constant churn at play caller coordinator. There's one constant. I mean, it's the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to blame the players. I get it. It's the player. Now, you could say it's unfair, and I've said it. It's somewhat unfair. I think they're unfair to Jalen Hurts, but that's their belief in the building.
And which is why the offense looks the way it does.
This is the way we have to play. That's the belief in the building.
Yeah, I mean, the one run that they had last year where they turned the ball over frequently. I mean, Jalen had a streak of turning the ball over like 5, 6, 7 games, whatever it was. And they ended up 4-4 at the break. And then after that, it was, we're not going to let you turn the ball over anymore. And that's a tough way to play. That's a tough way to kind of, call a game if you are the play caller. I mean, hey, I can't throw this play because he might throw an interception.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's a tough way to go. But I look at it like this. We're blaming Patullo, and everybody's mad at Patullo. And I'm not saying you want it by proxy. He's the coordinator. Go ahead, blame him. I don't have a problem with that. But try to look back and say, has this passing game been any good in the entire Hurts era? No. They've had AJ. They've had Devontae. So he's had weapons other than his first year. Now, those guys have had some good moments, some good games, some good numbers.
They've had great
But
games.
I think we all think that AJ could be an 1,800-yard receiver.
Right.
We all think AJ could probably be an 1,800-yard.
They became more risk-averse. I'm not sitting here telling you that Jalen Hurts ever was the quarterback in a prolific, high-powered passing offense. They were not this risk-averse in 2022.
Oh, yeah. It was week 4 last season, the bye week 5. That's when it changed. That's when it shifted.
Yeah. Because Jalen was turning the ball over so consistently, they decided that we got to reel it back even more. But even when Jalen and the passing game has never been this isn't the Houston Oilers of the 90s here. You're not running the run and gun here. They just basically have a one good game here, a huge game there, but it's not fluid. This is not who they are. And the coordinator has been different every year. That's the point, is everybody wants to blame Patullo, and I have no problem with that because I agree. How do I look at myself in the mirror and say I scored 10 points with this group of guys? I'd be embarrassed to walk in the building after scoring 10 points, and I don't care what defense I'm playing. Look who I have. I'm in the NFL. Every rule is for you to score, and you couldn't do it. It's
don't even try. Don't even try. It's what I get so pissed off at. Never in my life has anybody told me to achieve success. Just play it safe all the time. Don't try and impose your will. Yeah. Don't try and be aggressive in any area.
Well, that's the problem. That it worked for them.
All right. Well, you got. Here's a great question.
I agree. And the success
coming up. A team that scores a lot of points. Can you play it safe versus Detroit?
No, but I think the personality of the game takes care of that.
That's fair.
In a lot of ways.
It does.
You're playing a personality game is a real thing. And that personality of that game on Monday night was a defensive slugfest. Like if you're playing Detroit and they score twice right away, you're playing a different style of game and it looks different. So I think personality of the game kind of takes care of that.
100%. Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I think they know in their back pocket they can if they have to, because they have.
They certainly think they can pull it out anytime they want.
Exactly. They did it in the playoffs last year. I mean, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we need a game here. Bang, let's go. Well, they ran the ball well in the playoff. That's the big thing too, is they ran the ball so well last year. It allowed them to do things. And teams this year say, I had Amon Green on my show last week, who had an 1,800-yard, 15 touchdown season.
He was a great. He was talented back.
I had him on because he covers the Packers. He does the podcast Believe in the Packers. And he talked about the problems when he had 1,800 yards, that the next year, he said, those plays weren't there for me the next year. Like the plays that were there for us that we dialed up to help me get 1,800 yards, they weren't there anymore. Teams are saying, okay, we had the whole offseason to watch why you got 1,800 yards. Well, guess what? When you play us, that play is not going to be there this time. And then you have to then adjust to that. And that's where he said it was really hard. I don't know how many yards he had the very next year, but you go from 1,800 yards and then you're saying, oh, this should be a walk in the park. I should be able to get another 1,500 to 1,800 yards. And he's like, I could not, because those plays.
He had 1163. Still a very good year. He had five consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. 6 out of 7.
He's a great guy, and he really talks about the run game really well, and the perspective of being a back who had a monster year and then kind of taking a drop off as to what happened. And he's like, it's not as easy as just, hey, we run this and run the same play. Once teams say, hey, you had 1,800 yards, how did you do it? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Let's cut. And that's what the Eagles are kind of going through, coupled with their offensive line has had injuries, changes, lack of consistency. I mean, Lane Johnson goes out. That's another game that he's missed. So, yeah, I mean, and you're doing it on the fly and you're winning. So everybody be happy today. You're 7-2.
At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform, at Mike Gill Show on YouTube as well. Subscribe to his YouTube channel.
I did have somebody who told me they were a Birds 365 watcher who subscribed yesterday. So thanks to that guy.
Oh, nice.
I hope more of you were subscribing. We're live every day, 2 to 6. I'll be back on the weekends in Philly soon. I took the fall off a little bit here.
Good to hear.
I'm calling Blue Coats games. So
yeah, I saw that, Mike. I meant to congratulate you on that. That's awesome, dude.
The Wilmington Blue Coats. By the way, I'm not a fan of the name change. I like the 87ers because, and I know it was too obtuse for people, but I thought it was so creative because you had 76.
Too. I actually like the 87ers. Delaware. By the way, I don't know if you call it an arena, but the place they play, very cool venue.
Where do they play? Newark, the college?
No, playing Wilmington. They have their own arena. It's in Wilmington. It's called the Chase Fieldhouse.
Nice. How many people does it seat?
Oh, I would say if both sides are open, probably about 4,000.
Nice.
Somewhere in that range.
Menu. Yeah.
Well, I called the game. It was Saturday at 1:00. A lot of kids on the one side. They have the court open and bounces, so the families can hang out over there. And then the other side has bleachers that go up. I would say probably about 2,000 can sit there. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm doing select games. I'm calling this Saturday's game. I think it's a 6 o'clock game. And that game will be on the Roku channel. A lot of the games are on CBS Philly 57,
ESPN. We got to get a Roku channel, Zander. I pressed your dad on that. We should get a Roku channel.
How do I get a Roku channel?
It's free.
Get a fast channel.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to do that. Mike, text it to me if you can.
I don't know that I can figure that out. I probably could figure it out.
That's not your that's somebody else.
That's not.
So I've been a little, I'm getting ready for the basketball. I'm doing the play-by-play for those games. So I took a little time off from the Fanatic up in Philly, but I'd probably be back for the stretch run of the play. They need some smart opinions for the playoff stretch run here.
They do. And good Sixers talk as well. The Sixers are more exciting. Good win last night. Good win. That Boston team is plucky. You thought they'd be done with no Tatum, but they're still a good team.
You know why? The coach is from West Virginia.
I do like their coach, Missoula.
Man. I actually loved when he was a player at WVU. I loved him. He didn't score or do much. He was just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I always advocated when Kevin Ollie was here. Kevin Ollie was one of the smartest basketball players I ever met. And then he turned into a great coach for a short span.
I told you, Zander, when you guys start Sixers 365, man, we're ready to go. Me and John used to battle.
Oh, yeah, they were legendary live battles. They thought we were going to punch each other. But I'm like, no, we're professionals, man. Come on.
You're ready to go, Mike? I'll have my people call your people because I'm ready to go.
I'm ready, man. Listen, I'm ready to go. We got a team all set up. You let me know.
All right, good stuff. Mike, we appreciate it. Everybody go subscribe. We just got a comment, Mike. Just subbed you up. So everybody go sub to Mike Gill Show on YouTube. And follow Mike. He's one of the best in the business in this sports media realm. Mike, we appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
See you.
Thanks, bud. Doing us right here on Birds 365. Always good to talk to Mike, man. He's got such a great read on sports really as a whole. But John, this is an interesting conversation on the Eagles offense because I don't know. It just here we are again. Like AJ's a content machine for us, John. He's a content machine for us. But I feel his pain, man. I feel his pain. I get it. So many people just want to say, shut up, sit down and shut up. Man, nobody that wants to.
Anybody who listens to the show knows I'm a big AJ Brown guy. Love the guy. I don't want to overstate it. We're not friends or anything, but we've had a good colleague relationship. Think he's one of the best receivers in football. Have often called him the best pure football player on the Eagles. And I believe that, but yeah, he's got
players you've covered.
I've covered a lot of good players. I have to think about that. But he's up there. He's definitely up there, but he's got to stop. And I love the guy. He's got to stop. Like,
but here's the problem.
I get the frustration. I'm not.
He did answer the post-game press conferences. He was all good. I'm not worried about my targets. Tough, hard-fought game. Defenses were playing me different.
But I know AJ's very smart and he's very media savvy.
Yeah,
and he knows it's not like he doesn't know people aren't listening on Twitch. Even though I'm not listening, you know it's going to get out there.
Yeah, right.
And it is a shit show. I don't disagree with anything he said. But, he used Devontae's example. Devontae's not happy with this offense either. And he said some things on Saturday. And that's fine to do it in that fashion. Just got to scale it back a little bit. Or, at some point it becomes a zero-sum game. And after the season, you say, all right, we had a great run together and let's go our separate ways.
Almost feels like that's inevitable at this point. I know people hate that conversation, but it does certainly feel like that's coming. We got some super chats we'll get to here. I want to thank Jan Regal for becoming a member. Thank you, Jan. We do have a jersey giveaway this week because of the defensive performance on Monday night. So we'll do that either today or tomorrow. All right, here's Brian Garner. Brian, this is a great question, man. Thanks for checking in. Member for 13 months. Do you think Nick will ever hire an offensive coordinator who can run their own scheme or allow Jalen to play without being so risk averse?
Well, they already tried it last year with Kellen.
What about 23, though? Like, they were a top 10 passing offense in 23.
Were they top 10?
Yeah, they were good, weren't they?
They were 8th overall.
8th overall? Let me look at what they're passing on.
They were much better, but I don't think they were top 10, but certainly much better.
I'll pull it up for the sake of clarity, John. I'll pull it up for the sake of clarity.
Yeah, they already tried it.
Yeah, they were 16th in passing, so you're right.
So they're mediocre, which is a big step up. You should be.
Right. I'll take mediocre.
Yeah, they already tried that, and they scaled it back and went to where they are because they're good coaches, and that's what good coaches do. And Kellen Moore's a good coach, and he tried to do what he did in Dallas and with the Chargers, and it wasn't working, so he scaled it back to fit the strengths of the quarterback. The same thing will happen. And by the way, scapegoating, again, if the Eagles don't live up to their expectations and say they get blown out in the first round of the playoffs, wherever that is, wild card weekend, divisional round, Jeffrey Lurie will demand changes, and he might even demand, again, you got to go outside the organization, and he'll bring in somebody from outside the organization, and he'll go through the offseason trying to integrate these new concepts, and they'll get in the regular season, and they'll scale it back. Unless they have a shitty coach who then continues to pound the square peg in the round hole. If you want a different style of offense, this is the conversation people don't want to have. You got to scapegoat the quarterback and get a different style of quarterback. Which, by the way, I'm not advocating. I don't think they should do
you're
that.
Just adding to the conversation of like, if that's what you're calling for, it's going to require different
style of quarterback.
Here's first Cav Vet. What's up, brother? Appreciate you being here. I like the DeJean jersey in the picture. Member for 5 months. This is a Kevin Patullo problem. Why do we continue to give him passes? He has zero feel for the game. KP puts the offense in predictable plays. I think you're missing the conversation that we're having, man.
Yeah, man. 7 games last season were worse than what you saw in Green Bay from a passing perspective. So, I mean, look, I got no problem. Blame Kevin Patullo. Go nuts. I get it. You want to protect the players. I get it. It's easy to blame the coaches.
Yeah, but your whole thing on this show is elevate the conversation, educate,
make. Well, I do, but if somebody doesn't want to listen,
that's why I don't want to say. Yeah, you can think that. It's not a full thought process. You have to add in the other context that comes with why Kevin Patullo has no feel. The playbook is not opened up at all. Now, if you want to blame that on Nick or Jalen, that's up to you. But there's no playbook. The playbook is tiny. They don't call.
Well, the playbook isn't tiny. The playbook, what's funny about, like, say, the 4th down play, and why I hate the term rogue is, or even when in the moment of an excitement and when Saquon Barkley was caught on the mic on the field when he had that big wheel route touchdown. What game was that? Why am I forgetting what game that was? But he was mic'd up and he said, not even in the playbook. And everybody was like, look, they're calling plays by themselves. Everything's in the playbook. Think about it from the standpoint of the 4th and 6th.
Was that the Bronco game? That was the Bronco. Was it the Bronco game?
Yeah, it might have been. Everything runs together. But you remember when he was caught with the mic saying, and by the way, he wasn't mic'd up. He was caught on somebody else's mic.
Yeah, right.
But said something like, it wasn't even in the playbook. And everybody's like, it's not even in the playbook. Like, again, he's just excited in the moment. It wasn't the play called in the moment, and they made a off-schedule play. But the point is, you've seen wheel routes before. It's in the playbook. You've seen that play before that they've used many times to AJ that didn't work against Green Bay. It's in the playbook. Everybody was on the same page, the offensive line. They're all running the play. It's in the playbook. All these plays are in the playbook. NFL playbooks are massive. So did they pull everything?
NFL playbooks are small. I'm saying what the Eagles are willing to run is small.
Yeah. Do you pull it for a certain game? Do you do this? Both sides of the football. But it's usually if you want to pull from it, and they're not pulling from enough, I would agree with that. And that's because they're, whatever word you want to use, a conservative, risk averse, blah, blah, blah. They're very risk averse is the term I use. Very, very risk averse.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Vet, for the chat, my friend. Here's Bird Gang. What's up, Bird Gang? Thanks for the super chat, my man. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Don't forget to hit that like button. A big crowd. For those just checking in, AJ Brown was on a stream with Janky Rondo, streamer.
I love the name Janky Rondo.
It's a great. He is hilarious. But I digress. And he basically said it's a shit show. He's playing Madden, puts up 180 yards in Madden, and he's like, that's the only football highlights I'm getting this year. So that's what's going on in the conversation today. I saw some people say Zanders only wants to talk about the passing offense. I'm like, dude, this is what keeps coming up in this world. AJ Brown is channeling his inner Tony Montana. I'm the bad guy, baby. Bird Gang says it's time to move on from Nick's offense and bring in a coordinator with his own scheme.
He did that last year. You got the same thing at the end of the day. They tried. Looked very familiar by the end of the season.
4 games, though. I mean.
Well, I agree. I said it at the time. I thought it was unfair. But they won 16 of 17 afterward when they scaled it back. And they became what they are today.
Oh.
And they won 7 of 9 today.
I'm sure Pumper has an entertaining take on this. He says, so you all are telling me that the QB is a shitter?
No, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's interesting what people hear. I'm telling you, the quarterback wins in unconventional ways. And the quarterback wins more than every other quarterback, basically, over the past 2 years. There's nobody that's won at the level of Jalen Hurts. But again, it's not quarterback. It's a different team. Success is not based on the quarterback, other than if you have crappy quarterback play, you're not going to win in the NFL. So by no means are the Eagles getting crappy quarterback play, but they do have a quarterback who's limited in the passing game.
They're just not asking them to do a whole lot. I mean, they're just don't lose the game. That's what I mean. It's this passive approach.
Well, it is.
I don't know, John. I know you got me because I get it. You're more like just accept it. But I'm like,
similar thing.
Well, you don't ever say, go win us a game. Go put the ball in their hands. It's just don't make mistakes.
I don't think you want to see Jalen Hurts throwing the football 40 times a game.
No, I don't want that. No.
I think you want to see what happened in Minnesota. That's the top game. What did he throw it 23 times in that game? Very efficient. Extraordinarily efficient, and you can't be that efficient every week, but that's the high point. That's the ceiling. Literally, from an NFL standpoint, 158.3 is perfect. That is the ceiling. You can't get better than that. It's a stupid stat, but to use that stat, he was 19 of 23, 3 touchdowns, perfect quarterback. Perfect pass.
When you say limited, John, what do you mean? Like, elaborate. Is it the progressions? Is it reading the full field? Is it throwing the ball over what is it about Jalen that makes him limited in the passing game?
Well, he's very cautious when it comes to, and maybe that's been beaten down into him. Again, he doesn't get the football out on time way too often. everything in the NFL is very on schedule from the standpoint. Normally, when we use the term on schedule, we're talking about staying ahead of the sticks for an offense. For a quarterback, it means the designs, because of the talent of those defensive backs. You're designing plays where you have these short windows and the ball has to come out on time. And if it doesn't, the window's covered up. And then sometimes you get a second window if you're going to extend plays and things like that. Number one, that's his biggest deficiency as a quarterback, in my opinion. The ball, he just doesn't trust what he sees. And there's at times, like, I think part of that has been beaten into him. Like, because he's got it in his head, well, the one thing I can't do is turn it over. And he's phenomenal at that, by the way. Think about the historic nature. He's played 9 games and thrown 1 interception. I mean, he's on a pace to have the best ball security season in NFL history.
And part of that is aided by the way they play, but he still deserves credit for it.
Yeah. Well, not everybody can do that.
Well, as you point out all the time, not everybody plays this way.
No.
Most quarterback. I mean, you're gonna people say to me, Darnold has more interceptions. I'm like,
well, that's the thing. Well, let's use Sam, because Sam, everybody hates Sam except me, and I'm going to spike.
I don't hate Sam. Don't put me in that. I had him
because Sam is one of the best natural throwers in the NFL right now. But he will take some chances, and that's what happens when you talk about in the Herbert conversation as well. When Jeff asked me what would the coaching staff like if you forced them to tell the truth. Guess what? If you have a quarterback like that, you're going to take some chances because you have a quarterback like that. Be careful what you wish for. And all of a sudden, the ball's going the other way. And you're like, oh, fuck. It looks so good. And then bang, interception.
They better get this run game going then, right?
Yeah. And that's been the entire focus since the mini bye. Get that running game going. That's been the entire focus through the mini bye and the actual bye. Get that running game fixed. Now, at some point, we keep talking about the passing offense because it's such a shit show. At some point, we got to ask, what the hell? And it's very noticeable because you have superstars, right? People don't want to blame superstars. Individually, I watched these games all week. The offensive line is now playing pretty damn well, even with Brett Toth in there. At some point, you have to look at Saquon and say, what's going on there? Is he not the same guy? People do not like to blame superstars. They want to make excuses for them.
Do you think their approach is the right approach?
For this team, yes. I mean, it's hard to argue with it. I mean, why would you do something? Why would you fix something that isn't broken? Like, who's won at a higher level? Like, everybody loves all these coaches. I talk about all these coaches. Nick's now 10-0 against Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell. He's 10-0. If you ask 90 NFL insiders, 80 of them would tell you, well, McVay's a better coach. 70 would say LaFleur's a better coach. At least 60 would say O'Connell's a better coach.
Okay, of the record. So you're talking about the record, right? I want you to rank the 3 in order of importance for the record. Howie Roseman 1, Nick Sirianni 2, Jalen Hurts 3.
Oh, well, I put Howie aside. Howie, I can I use talent? Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. So if you, so I'm not using Howie.
It includes everybody in the front office, but
yeah. So I would say players first. Players always first. So and that includes Jalen Hurts. And then Nick Sirianni behind that. But I mean, that's every team. I say it a million times. And so do all the good coaches. Vic says it, Nick says it. You can't win, and you've seen it with guys who coach for a long time. whether it's Belichick or Andy, eventually, because it's a cyclical industry from a talent standpoint, eventually, and you'll see it with Nick. Nick came into a very good situation. He knows it. If he stays around long enough, which he probably won't because of, the urgency of this city to win every week, he'll probably get fired after a bad year plus. You're going to have downticks as a coach because you can't win without good players. So it's always players first. Always. The best coach in the world can't win without good players.
Yeah.
He might be able to turn. Coaching is about, if you have a 4-win team, turn it into a 6 or 7-win team. If you have a 12-win team, get 13 or 14. Can't go much higher. That's good coaching. You can't win without good players. Can't.
Well,
certainly not to the level of the Eagles winning.
All right, we got a bunch of super chats. I'm just going to read one more, and then we'll get the Brandon Goutton coming up. I'm curious to see what BLG has to say about all this. JD3 says, the last time we let Hurts have full control for a whole season, he led the league in turnovers, tried for 4 games the next season, and he turned it over again. This is why we play this way.
It is. Well, yes, it is the way. I think it's unfair, but it is the way they play that way. Part of the reason he turned it over so much in 2023 is because the defense was a shit show. It's a complimentary game. Now the offense is a shit show. The defense was a shit show. It's a complimentary game. So when your defense is so bad, you're forced to score more points. How do you score more points? You got to take more chances. When your defense is playing the way they did Monday night in Green Bay, you don't have to take any chances. I was seriously considering, in the modern NFL, you rarely see shutouts. I was thinking this damn team's not going to score. When you're playing that way defensively, you don't have to take chances. If Detroit shows up and scores 40, they got to take some chances. They had to take a shitload of chances in 2023 that they don't have to take now. So it's not just as simple as Jalen Hurts was turning it over because they gave him more autonomy. They had to give him a longer leash because they had to keep up with the shitty defense.
Fair enough. Let's go to BLJ. Bring him in with the more drama in Eagle Land, as there always is. We got to love the Eagles like content people, man. They just bring it every time. Brandon Goutton joins us now. Make sure you guys follow him at Brandon Goutton. Read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com. Make an account over there. Check in with their big Eagles community. It's one of the best on the web. BLJ, welcome in, my friend. Never a dull moment here in Philly.
Yeah, that's well said. Correct.
Never doubt. Twitch, are you big Twitch guy? You're a big Janky. What is his name?
Janky Rondo. Come on, J-Mac.
Janky Rondo. Are you a big Janky Rondo guy?
I've seen him on, social things before, but I guess, right. I don't know. Yeah.
I didn't know Janky Rondo. I apologize to Janky Rondo.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. But AJ's on there, and obviously, but by the way, I agree with him. It is a shit show. Yeah. Where do you start with this offense and what's going on?
I mean, it's not everything, but trying for it on 3rd and long, I think to me would be a good start instead of just giving up on those plays. You talk about like finding more targets for AJ Brown. Okay. Well, maybe do it on the plays where instead you're just giving it to Will Shipley to just give up on drives, and not just once, not just twice, but like again and again and again and again. So that's not fixing everything, but that is a good place for me to start, is to actually try more than not at all.
I'd like to try now, because I still look at it and say, all right, you're 3rd and 14 against a team playing shell coverage and has Micah Parsons. Like, yeah, I don't mind running a draw in that situation. Like my whole point of the Philadelphia Eagles is, well, why do they win? They win because they don't turn the ball over. You're inviting the situation like, you got maybe the best pass rusher in football. She's got 7 pressures. Didn't get home because Jalen Hurts did a nice job of avoiding him on a couple occasions. You're not a good passing team, which I think part of that is a self-fulfilling prophecy, no doubt, because of the way they play. But my whole thing is, if there's any time you're going to run a draw, it's 3rd and 14 against Micah Parsons in cover 2. Like that butt stuff doesn't bother me at all.
But that's in the DNA of this team, and they're doing it against not just the Packers. Like, they've been doing this all year. Like, I just don't. And also, when you hear the justification for that, I don't think it is always as eloquent as you just said there, John. It's Nick Sirianni bringing up these anecdotal examples of why that's good, and that's not like the best piece of evidence to me. It's just like these one-off kind of examples.
Well, my biggest concern with that, BLG, is if you go back to last season, there were about 4 or 5 situations where they hit like draw plays for big gains on 3rd downs, but it was Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference this season is he can't pass protect, so they have Will Shipley in there.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is the bigger concern. It's like they now feel like they need Will Shipley on there. And by the way, isn't even a good pass protector, but he's just better than Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby. And this goes back to AJ's original point. This is a freaking shit show.
I think there's a better way to balance. I think what you're talking about, there's truth in that, but there's ways you can do it where I think that you don't have to merely give up. Case in point, they had to go for it on 3rd and 12 on that drive there, their penultimate drive in the game. And what does Jalen Hurts do? Rips off a beautiful pass to Devontae Smith. Like, oh, that's impossible, I thought. Or on their sole touchdown drive, where obviously they didn't draw it up the way they did. I'm guessing there, where Jalen Hurts dumping off to Saquon Barkley like he did, and him, taking it 41 yards. But you allowed for that to happen by at least, giving it the option, as opposed to just being like, 3rd and 7 here. We just have to run it and give up on the play, not even try to get the first down, really. So they have to give themselves more chances. Maybe it's not every single drive. And if it's 3rd and 30 or 3rd and 26 or whatever it was, okay, that's a different story. But when we're talking about 3rd and 7, or in that drive they get in the red zone there, where they take the delay of game penalty, which, hey, why not call the timeout there if you're not going to be willing to go for it?
I agree. The coach has got to save the quarterback at that point and call the timeout. I agree with that. I will say, from the standpoint of that first drive was unbelievable. Like, it was great. And then they fumbled the football, and it was a great play. At some time, you got to tip your cap to the other guys. Great peanut punch. I forget who did it. I think it was Cooper.
Yep.
Edgerrin Cooper. Great play by the defender. To me, at that point, you're dominating them offensively, and then you went into a further shell. Like, that's the kind of shit that bothers me. Like, the guy doesn't turn the football over, Jalen Hurts. And the defender makes a great play, hits the ball on the button with the peanut punch. Like, why can't you just chalk that up to, like I said, tip the cap and go back to what you were doing, which was dominating them? And to me, they go back into the shell, even more so. Oh, shit, we turned it over. If we do that again, we're going to lose the game.
It feels like they spent the entire bye week just working on that one drive. And I was like, all right, we can do this. And then we have no answers after that. But do you think it was because of the turnover or because they had no answers? I think it's just, you look at every game this season, and there's these prolonged stretches that come on here. I think I talk about every week where they can't do anything on offense. Like 3 plays, 3 yards, 3 plays, 8 yards, 5 plays, 7 yards, 4 plays, 6 yards. Like, these just
they
stretches.
lead the league in 3 and outs. That is insane.
Yeah,
that is no good reason. That is insane.
That's insane.
That is bad. Now, at what point, and I've asked this, and I'm going to ask you, and I probably asked you this before, and I'm with most. There's a lot of talent on this offense. I'm not trying to say there isn't, but at what point do we have to all get together and say, you know what, maybe they're not quite as gifted as we think they are, because there's been no evidence of this ever, no matter who the coordinator has been. There is no evidence that this is a high-level passing offense, ever.
Well, then that's part of the Howie Roseman problem in terms of just the resources allocated to this offense. If you're going to be the most expensive offense in the NFL by a significant margin, mind you, like, then what are you investing in if it looks like this? So that's part of. I'm not saying he's the main person to blame, but like that, you're inviting that part of the conversation as well. And that's what I think ultimately people look at and are like, this is not good enough. When you have all those resources invested in this, it simply can't look this bad. And maybe it's not going to be the best offense in the NFL, and that's okay. I don't think that has to be the standard, but it has to be something more approaching that than it is what it is now.
That's definitely fair. I don't think there's any question about that. It's got to be.
Does something have to be fixed, or is this simply just us talking because it doesn't look? You know what I mean? Like, they are 7-2 now. My opinion is, last year you had this running game as the crutch. They don't have that. They've run the ball like they did last year, one game versus the Giants. You know, that's not a big sample size here. So I think it does have to be fixed from that perspective. But is it all just talking points? Did it really not have to fix anything? How do you see that part of it?
I mean, I think there's still potential for this offense. Like, I'm not writing them off entirely. We look at the team from last year and how uneven things were going into December. And then NFC Championship game happens. The Super Bowl happens. I'm not saying you can just bank on that again, but I'm saying there is still like a ceiling here that could be reached. I'm not ready to give up on that entirely. But I mean, when it comes to confidence in what they're doing right now, it's impossible to feel really confident about what you're going to get. Because like you just said, there is no like bread and butter running game. The passing game is not working. And yet they win, which is just insane.
It is amazing. I can't figure out how they win all these games, but they manage to find a way each and every week. We haven't talked about it because we've been talking about the offense so much, but boy, I think Jalen Phillips is a perfect fit for this team. And to be able to go out and play like that on day one with Vic Fangio in that type of situation, I think everything falls into place. Now Nolan Smith is your second edge rusher when he gets healthier, and Jalen Hunt is 3, and I think he's not ready to be a starter, but I think he's a really good 3, and on and on and on. I think everything just fits into place. Does this defense have a chance to be like last year's defense the rest of the way?
I think that's just tough, considering they were like the best defense in the NFL and allowed the fewest points ultimately there. But I do think they have potential. I don't think this game against the Packers is just an aberration. Like, I do think they're in a much better spot now that, like you just said, you got Jalen Phillips. Love the energy he brings to the table, by the way, just that both as like a personality and a player. I think that was apparent and certainly doesn't hurt to add to this defense. Quarterback 2, I still think is ultimately, just going to be a spot that could trouble them. It could also be times where I think Dory Jackson, relatively played well. Not perfect, but like enough to just, not be this massive weakness that the Packers were targeting on every single play. So yeah, I think getting Nakobe back has obviously made a big difference as well. Not just, as an off-ball linebacker, what he can do there, but specifically, adding to the pass rush as a blitzer. I do think I trust this defense. And look, even when this defense like hasn't played well this year, I'm never like worrying about the bottom dropping out. And I feel like across the board, they've pulled their weight more often than not.
Yeah.
No, they definitely have defensively. At the addition of Jalen Phillips, obviously, and all those guys look really good. But I don't know. I keep going back to the offense. Maybe I shouldn't. I think the defense is a big one. But, I mean, is it a winning strategy to expect your defense to do what they did last week every single week? I mean, I don't think that's a winning strategy. I just don't understand why we're asking so little of this offense.
No, because I think you'll see that this weekend against the Lions.
Yeah. You're not giving up. Yeah, you're not giving up 7 points against
right.
The Lions.
I mean, the thing that bothers me, BLG, is like, why do we assemble all this talent on offense, and then instead of asking them to go and win you football games or give you a better chance, it's just don't make mistakes. Just don't lose it for us. Like, that's what you do for things that are typically a liability. That's not what you do for the highest paid offense in pro football. Just don't lose it for us, guys.
Yeah. I think they're probably, this goes back to a wise man avoids all extremes, and Nick Sirianni never necessarily claimed to be a wise man. I think there are times where that strategy is prudent, and you could do that. There are certain games probably where that would apply more than other times, but it doesn't have to be your philosophy week in and week out. And there's a way to avoid turnovers, I believe, without going to the extreme that they do at times, and kind of neutering what they could do really well on offense. It doesn't have to be this conservative. It doesn't. They weren't this conservative in 2022, and things looked really good. And that's the best offense they had in the Nick Sirianni era. It doesn't have to be this extreme.
All right, let me play devil's advocate to that, because I'm with you by and large. I think this offense is ugly. It's ugly to watch. There's nothing I like about this offense from a standpoint of an aesthetic view. It's just ugly. However, like, their ball security is outrageously good. I mean, I think the number, what did Kerr say the number was? 57 touchdowns and 7 turnovers.
Yeah, something like that.
For Jalen Hurts. I mean, this is historic. He's through 9 games, BLG, with 1 interception. Usually the ball's going to bounce. You're going to throw the ball in the middle of the line. It's going to bounce up. You get an interception. Part of it is luck. Part of it is, and the Eagles hate that, blah, blah, blah. But again, sometimes quarterbacks throw picks that aren't even their fault. But they take care of the football at a historically good level. And that, to me, if you were to boil everything down and say, what is the most important part of the Eagles' success over this stretch, that's it. So if they even deter a little bit away from that, and all of a sudden, a couple turnovers here, a couple turnovers there, maybe more explosive play, is it a be careful what you wish for situation? Because maybe that 1-score game goes the other way.
I just think there are times where, again, you can take shots down the field and you turn the ball over, and that's not a terrible interception. If you're throwing a 50-yard attempt to AJ Brown, yeah, exactly. So I don't think I don't think all turnovers are equal in that regard. I think there are turnovers that you don't prefer, obviously, but you can live with, that aren't as crushing as some others. So I do think, again, that element there has to be a better balance of that, to me, where, again, not that you're hoping for the turnover, but you can live with it more at the expense of you're taking some shots. And it's the balance. There has to be a better balance than there's been, because when you look at it, and the Eagles are in a spot here where they're 6-1 in 1-score games, and you can say, oh, they know how to win. That's not what history tells us in the NFL. History tells us that when you win a lot of 1-score games, the regression is coming at some point. It might not be this season. The Chiefs last year won a ton of 1-score games. They got to the Super Bowl, and maybe regression kind of hit hard, obviously, in that game there. The Commanders this year, look at what they are, and then there's a lot of factors into that, but part of it, they won a lot of 1-score games last year. There's a bunch of other examples of this throughout history. In 2023, the Eagles were doing that, and obviously, again, at some point, you have to play better. And I just think, it's been working for them now, sure, but at some point, it has to be better, because that catches up to you eventually.
What percentage do you put on Jalen Hurts for the offensive incompetence?
I mean, it's part of it, when you're the quarterback, you're part of it. But and this was a weird game for him. I felt like just uncharacteristic game from him in terms of he's just missing throws that he usually.
I said that too. Take philosophy out. It was just not his best game from that perspective.
Right. And I mean, that's annoying in a 1-game sample, but I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts' accuracy all of a sudden based on what we've seen this season's career. I'm generally, he's going to make those throws more often than he doesn't, unless it's the start of a new trend, which, I'd have to see more of that to believe that. So for this game, certainly he was part of it, but I don't think he was the only part of why the offense looked like that.
Do you think this coaching staff is fair to Jalen Hurts? Because they are extremely risk averse, to be kind. We'll use the kind term. Is that fair to Jalen Hurts?
I think there are times where they don't trust him enough and don't empower him enough. And that goes back to the third down conversation, I was having. I think they're, and, by Nick Sirianni's own admission, he'll tell you that, number one, he believes in his players. Okay, then show it. And number two,
he doesn't.
Right. And that Jalen Hurts throws one of the prettiest deep balls in the NFL. He'll say that. He says it a ton. Well, then let him do it. There have to be more chances where he can do that.
Yeah, I agree. But it's interesting because, you're not supposed to be able to win this way. It's everything about what the Eagles do says they shouldn't win at the level they do. It is one of the weirdest teams, one of the most unique teams I've ever seen. You shouldn't be able to play the way they play offensive football and win in the modern NFL. It should not exist, but yet it exists. I think if anybody could figure it out, they figure it out. I got to ask the question. And I'm going to ask BLG. I was asked about the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, Eagles fans have an obsession with Justin Herbert because, I don't know, most of the offseason list had Justin Herbert above Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles coaching staff, and you had truth serum and sodium pentothal and everything, you had them in a dark room and said, would you rather have Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts? My answer was they would rather have Justin Herbert. And then I was asked, would they win more or lose more? And I said they would lose more. And I firmly believe it. They'd rather have it and they'd rather lose more. What would be your answer to that question?
Wait, what's the framing?
The framing is coaching staff, Justin Herbert versus Jalen Hurts, or a Justin Herbert style quarterback, whatever, high volume passing quarterback. And which would they rather have? And if you're going Justin Herbert or the high volume quarterback, would they win or lose more?
Okay. Anyone in this system apparently is just going to win. I think. Sorry.
No, it's a strange question. I get it, but my thought is they would rather have. I'm saying Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, Scott Lepp, everybody throw in there, Parks Frazier. Everybody would rather have the high volume quarterback, but sure. I don't think they would win as much. I should have worded it better.
Okay. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's tough because I think the Eagles have a really good environment, and that's not to take credit away from Jalen Hurts, but when you have, I think the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, that certainly helps here. When you have, the best general manager in the NFL, that helps a lot. So, you're still in a good environment here. I get what you're saying. But I think what makes part of the interesting thing about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, I think this could be said of both of them, they are somehow the right fit for this specific team and this specific model. And I don't always know how that translates outside of this, but you can't. That's the thing. We don't. They're here, so it's hard to say that they.
I struggle with the insinuation that a better passing offense would mean that we would lose more. I understand what you're saying, John, because of that, but I don't think those other teams have as good of a team around, as good of an organization, as good of a.
I agree with that,
but look at Jared Goff. You know what I mean? In Detroit, again, they lost in the playoffs. I understand. I'm not trying to say they're perfect, but that's a team that throws the ball a lot, doesn't play risk averse, and wins a lot of football games.
Well, here's where I agree with that. So if you take a Justin Herbert and put him, he's going to be better than he was with the Chargers here with this system, with this talent, with this support system.
Defense,
he's going to be better. It's also going to embolden, this is my point, it's going to embolden the coaching staff to be less risk averse. And they're going to say, we have this quarterback. Now we can open up the offense. We can do all this shit.
Gotcha.
And all of a sudden, bang, here come the turnovers. Not a ton because he's a very good player. And I think, remember, they win at a high level. So 13 wins in the Super Bowl might be 12 wins and you lose in the divisional round. They're still going to be good, but I think it's be careful what you wish for type of situation. Like, I think they've tapped into something that other people can't do because of the quarterback. And he's very unique, and I think people don't accept that.
Yeah, I think turnover avoidance is a bigger skill than probably Jalen gets credit for. But again, to me, my point with it all is just there has to be a way where the balance could be better. I don't think it needs to be this extreme. I still think you can aim to do what you're talking about while also being a little bit more aggressive and still not, altering that equation entirely where he's leading the league in turnovers.
That's how I like to look at it. I mean, who knew tapping into, to John's point, tapping into offensive ineptitude would equal.
Well, it's not that you're tapping into conservatism.
Well, which as a result of that, what do you get? I mean, largely we're getting.
Well, you get what you get is this herky jerky. Like it looked great in Minnesota. Now, very rarely it looked great against the Giants in the second game. So you still have the great games, the good games. But you have a lot of ugly games tapped into that, which is built into that. But again, you got the high of Minnesota and the low of Green Bay. I mean, you're getting both ends of the spectrum, but I think in the immediacy of they're coming off, and certainly if they had a different style of quarterback, it'd be a much prettier offense. There's no doubt about that. None. And this is an ugly offense. It is an ugly, unaesthetic offense. But it has been for years now. It really has. Just from a pure, this ain't Bill Walsh out there. This ain't, these beautiful crafted plays. This is, hey, we're better than you, and we're just going to do what we do. And I think there's never been a better stretch of Eagles football. So it's to me, it's be careful what you wish for, because they can be prettier. They could turn that switch in the offseason, go get a different quarterback, and they could turn that switch in the offseason. And they'll be a hell of a lot prettier, but I don't think they'd win as much. And that is the brilliance of Jalen Hurts to me. And I get it. It's an intangible. It's, how do you, quarterbacks, and for the most part, I agree with the theory that wins and loss are not a quarterback stat until they are. And by that, I mean, when you win at such a high level, I think that's a trait for that specific player. But for most, the mediocre quarterbacks, the guys in the middle, it's not really indicative of a quarterback stat. But when you win so much, it's hard to turn away from it in my mind.
I think that's I do think that's a combination of a lot of different things. I do. I think Howie's been at his best in the last 4 years. I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but I think you're right, John, at large. BLG, last question for you. Do you have a problem with AJ Brown and the way he's handling this?
I don't, because I don't think, is it going to solve anything if AJ just says nothing and acts like everything is okay when it's clearly not? I don't think that solves anything either. So I think it's important to express how you're feeling. Now you could say, okay, there's better ways to do it. There's more productive ways to do it. But for all I know, he's tried that and it's still not working. Because we shouldn't be, it's unconscionable. That is the only word I can use to describe the fact that AJ Brown has 3 targets in that game on Monday night. And 2 of them, are before that 4th down play at the end there. 2
Aren't
of them
they on the first drive, both of them?
I think they both came on the first 2 drives total.
No, first 2.
But yeah, so it's okay, and then he's just gone. It's almost like you just forget he's on the team. The team thing almost forgets he is on the team. I can't accept that the Packers, are playing all these coverages that just totally. How about run one of those pop passes to him? You can't defend that in terms of you're getting the ball in his hands. Okay, maybe it's not a good result, but why not mix that in at some point? Do something to literally just get the ball in his hands. Give him a chance at some point. There's no good reason for him to have 3 targets in a game like that. And again, 2 of them where it was actually in like the normal flow of the offense and not some shot play on a 4th down at the end of the game.
At Brandon Goutton, make sure you follow him on the X platform. BleedingGreenNation.com does a tremendous job. Your quick thoughts on Jaire Alexander Walker. What a weird season, man.
Yeah, weird season. We have 2 players.
I mean, Za'Darius shows up. He's happy. He's like, I love it. And then he walks away out of nowhere. Jaire shows up last week. Same thing. Thrilled to be here. I feel fine. Walks away. What the hell's going on?
He does seem like an interesting guy. So I think that's maybe part of it. I think it's hard for probably a player of his caliber to kind of reconcile. He's like not the guy anymore when he's used to being the guy for his whole career. And it's not as simple as like, okay, you're not like a backup / special teams player now or a healthy scratch kind of guy. So maybe that's just something that, especially, for the work these guys put in training and everything, like maybe you're just like, I don't want to, work all this hard just to not even play or anything. It's a whole different mindset. So it's weird. I don't know. It's also weird the Eagles messaging on it when they're over here, basically, giving the impression that, this like why he's not playing in the Packers game is because they're ramping him up and everything. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, he's like walking away from football, maybe, which that's the other weird part, right?
He didn't retire. He might come back.
So I don't even know what's happening here.
Yeah. It is.
BLJ, this team is never a dull moment, as I started it with. I'll end it with that as well. Plenty to talk about. BLJ, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again next week. Always good chatting with you.
Thanks, bud. Sorry about that weird, convoluted question, but I thought it was interesting.
Thanks guys.
Bud.
See you next week.
BLJ joining us right here on Birds 365. Good stuff there, everybody. John, we got a bunch of super chats we'll get to real quick before we do that. What is the agenda today, John? A little bit of a shorter week with the Monday game going into.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's good you bring that up. I should have mentioned the Eagles are back on the practice field. They're going to, as they do late in season, walk through Wednesdays. Get this: Nick Sirianni talks at 12:20 ish because he's rarely on time. He's like the president. The walkthrough, which is closed to the media, is at 4:35 in the afternoon. And the locker room doesn't open until 5:40.
Oh, gosh.
5:40, which I believe is an all-time lateness record. I think they're trying to get people to leave, not try to tire us out, which isn't going to work. But yeah. Anyway, that's the shit show of the schedule today. Yeah, speaking of shit shows.
Right. Shit show is the word of the day, everybody. A lot of people are mad at us for talking about it. Hey, blame me. Get mad at AJ Brown. Don't get mad at me.
Everybody's mad at me. I'm used to it.
Yeah, me too. We're all a little Tony Montana today, John. You, me.
I mean, who looks at this offense and says, "Oh, things are going well. Things are just fine." I mean, come on. Be honest with yourself. Did you
get mad at me on the postgame show for saying that? You were like, "Why is your expectation so high? You're spoiled." You told me.
Well, you're spoiled from the winning. Yeah, you're all spoiled from the winning. I mean, that's.
They also told me the team.
They win a game. It's really hard to win games in this league. They win a game at Lambeau Field. My only point is not that as I said pretty consistently, the expectations that this should be a high-level passing offense are absurd. There is no evidence of it, ever. There is no freaking evidence for it. At best, middle of the road, 16 of 32. At best. There has never been any evidence because you don't have a high volume passing quarterback. So to assume you're going to turn it around just by letting him throw the football more is like bizarre to me. You don't just wake up one day and be able to be, Peyton Manning scoring 600 points at his height. It doesn't work that's my point. That's like what you have to accept. Not that it's got to be better than it was on Green Bay.
Oh, that's all I'm looking for. I'm not trying to be Dan Marino or 40 points a game. I understand that's unrealistic to ask for just because of talent, but it does feel like we shouldn't be as bad as we are. I mean, that doesn't feel crazy.
Well, that it's certainly, but they haven't, again, you have the ups and downs. That's the frustrating part, which I get from a fan.
All right, let me get to these super chats. We got a bunch of them. I want to thank everybody for being here today, for all the super chats. A lot of support on the show today. Hit that like button, everybody. AJ Brown, if you're just checking in, spoke with Janky about some offensive problems.
Janky Rondo.
Jaire Alexander walked away from the game yesterday, or stepped away from football to contemplate his future. So he will probably never play a game in Eagle Green. Bird Gang checks in. It's easier to replace a coach than it is to replace a $255 million quarterback, which is something Lurie should start thinking about.
Yeah, and I don't advocate replacing the quarterback. And yes, obviously, because players, you know why it's more important? It's easier, to replace a quarterback than a coach, because talent is more important than coaching. So stop acting like coaching can cure the talent issue.
Roll Philly says, the problem is having a head coach who doesn't call plays.
No, well, that I don't agree with.
I think he's looking for offensive consistency.
I've always been a CEO coach guy. Again, be careful what you wish for. The best play schemer, the best play caller in this league is Kyle Shanahan by a pretty significant margin. As I said, he is the Vic Fangio of offensive football. He is again, we'll use the theme of the day. He is a shit show when it comes to game management, because he gets bogged down. You saw Matt LaFleur turning his back to the defense. Might as well, because he's got no involvement in it. And not to say that obviously, Vic Fangio is in charge of the defense here, but game management is a big part of it. And be very careful what you wish for. I think in the college level, it's interesting. I sent that graphic out. Like the past 40 years, there's been 4 or 5, I forget the exact number, very small number, 4 or 5 national championship coaches have called plays on either side of the ball. It's accepted in college football. For some reason, it's not accepted in pro football. I wanted my head coach to be involved with the entire team. I don't agree with that at all. I haven't for years, long before Nick Sirianni got here. And Nick Sirianni was hired to call plays, by the way. So he's not even, but he's morphed into a CEO coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right, let's go. I got a bunch more supers we got to rattle off here. Him bites him. What's up, dude? They told AJ to sacrifice for Saquon last year, and now he wants to sacrifice for him this year. Seems fair to me.
It's not about fair. It's about winning.
Yeah. Here's Corporate Pumper. We can never criticize their precious king, Jalen Hurts. That faux MVP he stole from Josh Sweat gave these peons a more inflated.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. Those awards are meaningless. It's generally, if you play well in the Super Bowl and you're a quarterback, you're going to be Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, to me, it should have went to Josh or Milton, but whatever. They don't give it to defensive players unless the quarterback plays shitty.
Here's Charles. My boy Charles. What's up, Charles? They are cheating Hurts out of the development that I believe he can achieve. He has limitations, but is there anything besides losing that will prompt change? The team is weird because Jalen is. I get it. It's an interesting point.
No, nothing will change. Yeah, it's a point I've made many times over.
Yeah, but it is kind of what you said with unfair to Hurts. But cheating out of the development isn't.
No, the only thing that's going to prompt change is losing. Yeah, that's the most important part. So be careful what you wish for.
Here's Sammy Livingston. What does this offense look like without all these stars? Who knows? They don't even ask the offense to do anything. If they're 26 now, what do they become? 29th?
Well, depends on, the only offenses that are worse are the ones who have just awful quarterback play. And the Eagles don't have awful quarterback play. So I get that it's frustrating, but most offenses don't play like the Eagles do. So, they're going to throw the ball more. So the numbers end up being better But generally the efficiency is not better. The Eagles' efficiency is actually pretty good. I shouldn't say, if you look at EPA and things like that, it's much better than the raw numbers, because when they do move the ball, they're very efficient with it. Red zone success and all that. They're very efficient.
Yeah. We're also one of the bottom teams in the NFL in terms of getting to the red zone, but when they get there, they're good. Yeah. Jan Regal, what's up, Jan? Thanks for becoming a member today, and thank you for your $10 super chat. How much of this offense is based on analytics over in-game feel and circumstances? It seems their positive plays are always the same plays, and that is just a handful of plays. Good question, Jan.
I mean, I don't even like that term. I like, what do you mean by analytics? They don't, it's not like they sit there and go to Twitter and say, oh, we should go for it here, we shouldn't go for it here. That's Nick's sort of feel. But they're a very data-driven organization as a whole. They've always been in the forefront of trying to find sort of little niches where, like, they were going for it on fourth down a lot far earlier than most teams in this league, because they saw an advantage in it and other teams kind of caught up. So they're very cognizant of it, but they're not like, I don't even know how you would call plays based on analytics, other than, oh, it says go for it on fourth down, it says not go for it, and they don't pay attention to that stuff.
Fair enough. John, I think some news just came down. It looks like the Eagles placed Jaire on the reserve retired list.
Yeah. And Jacorian Bennett, this is the deadline for him to be.
That does. They've activated Jacorian from reserve. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they had to, that this was the final.
Does that mean he's retiring? Because I know it was speculated that he's contemplating.
Well, no, that's a formula for he does not, but you have to place him on that list to create the roster spot. Now, if he decides to come back, he's still the Eagles' property. So, it's just a bookkeeping thing you have to do.
Okay. Real quick, Kimberly says, same combo all the time. Get another QB then. Well, Kimberly, not that simple. Mr. says, how can AJ not get the ball at the start of the game? I don't know, Mr. Jeezy. Kimberly, again, the organization is like AJ, passive-aggressive. They are a passive-aggressive organization, that's for sure.
Well, sometimes not. But, yeah, I mean, AJ did get the ball hit on the first drive. They had a 16-play. I think people forget how good that first drive was, but it ended in a fumble. That first drive was unbelievable. They converted 3 third downs. It was 16 plays. It was 8 minutes. That on the play that Jalen Hurts fumbled, they converted. That would have, if he didn't fumble, that was third down. They would have been 4 for 4. That first drive was actually really, really good.
Yeah, it was.
And then they fumbled and they kind of got more cautious.
Shelled up. Kelly says, how do you explain 2 catches for 13 yards for A.J. Brown? AJ's way too good for 2 catches and 13 yards. Is it Jalen or Patullo? It's sad.
Well, we just spent 2 hours talking about that. I mean, to Mike's point, Mike brought it up, and he brought up Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. There is sort of some of that where when you have a player at that level, you do feel the pressure to get them the football more. And maybe it's not the best thing at all times.
Yeah.
Everything in life is just, it's so contextual. It's like, he's so good, you want to get him the ball, and sometimes it hurts you. So you can't just say, my point is, you can't just say, he's our best player, get him the ball. It's not what football is.
Dwayne says, so now the Super Bowl MVP is meaningless and Hurts didn't deserve it. I don't know how you got that.
I mean, come on, Dwayne. I mean, what can I tell you? You reading anything? I said, quarterback plays well in the Super Bowl. Any team, they're going to win Super Bowl MVP. oftentimes another player is more deserving. Last year, I thought Josh Sweat and Milt Williams were more.
And at the time, you got it better. You were like the defensive line was the MVP of this game, and they were. Yeah. I mean, come on, Dwayne. The Chiefs didn't get past midfield for 10 drives, dude. Yeah. I mean, come on. You know,
I never said Jalen Hurts played poorly in the Super Bowl.
No,
it's a quarterback. It's a quarterback award. Same thing with NFL MVP. It's a quarterback award now.
Just Josh.
Saquon Barkley didn't get a vote for MVP last year.
Just Josh.
Quarterback award.
Not consistent, and coaches don't trust him. Why not look for something else?
Well, that's a Howie question. But be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Like I said.
Way over, John. I want to get you out of here. Real quick, so you know what you're going down there today. Somebody just sent me AJ Brown, a couple more quotes from the stream. If you got me on fantasy, get rid of me. AJ throws himself the ball in Madden. Let's show him some love. Good things happen when you get touches. And then after he scored a touchdown, he says, "This is the only positive I got."
Yeah, I love AJ. I do.
This is the only highlights of damn football I'm living right now. And he's getting himself yards in Madden. Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, look, he ain't happy. I've told you he's not happy. Devontae's not happy. Nobody's happy.
I feel for you, AJ. I feel for you, brother. All right, John. Good show, man. Your final quick thought. I went way over here.
I got to start my 17-hour day at the NovaCare complex. So hopefully, maybe we'll talk some janky rondo if AJ's around. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. We'll be looking forward to it. John, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Thursday edition.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Thanks, dude. There's John McMullen here on Birds 365. Plenty of great conversation today on the show. Went a little overtime. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hit that like button. Drop your comments down below. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. I think we got to talk about it all here on Zander Time with everything that's going on today. A lot of different ways to look at this. But look, I put out during the game on Twitter, I tweeted out the AJ Brown posts this week are going to be fire. And here we are. We got him in a different form. They obviously spoke to him, the PR staff, and that's why he answered the way he did in the locker room after the game, where he basically said, I'm not worried about my targets, all those things. What they can't control is what AJ does in his free time, and that was streamed with Janky Rondo. Shout out to Janky Rondo. I think Janky Rondo is awesome, man. He's a hilarious streamer, but he's very good. So, but AJ's, let loose a little bit more, and look, I tried telling people a bunch of weeks ago that this organization probably is trying to muzzle AJ Brown over and over and over again when speaking about the ineptitude of the offense. Most people don't want to look at it like that, but it's the truth. This organization want to muzzle everybody. They don't want anybody speaking. They're like a communist government in a way. Like nobody's allowed to speak. So like even inside the locker room, I'm assuming the approach is the same. Every time AJ speaks up about something, everybody says, sit down and shut up. Sit down and shut up. Believe me, I know that they're like that. So it is what it is. I do happen to be Team AJ here because I don't think this team is going to win with this way. I know everybody's like, all I care about is winning. All right. Last year we could run the ball. This year we can't run the ball. Now we can't run the ball and we can't pass the ball. Like, how much lower can we go here? How much lower can we go here before we get a change? I saw some Nimrod in here. Yo, bro, chirping me ain't going to help your little podcast or whatever the fuck you're talking about. Chirping at me about it. Dude, what are you blaming me for? Fucking AJ Brown hates this offense. He hates it. This offense sucks. It's inept. Sure. Are we winning? Sure. We are. We're 1-0 in 23 too. Let's hope the fate's not the same. Because if we do get bounced in round one of the playoffs with an inept offense, all of you people who are chirping will be the same motherfuckers that are chirping how bad it is. Oh my God. They'll all go crazy. Nobody's consistent. Storman says, not only does he hate the offense, I think he hates her. I'm not going to speculate on their personal relationship, but yeah, I don't think AJ likes the way that the offense is run right now. You know, Peter says, tell him, feels like 23. It doesn't yet for me, but I mean, it doesn't yet for me. I'm just warning people that can come. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like just because you're 7-2, everything's going to be all great. You know? Philly, Florida says, Z, why doesn't the offense use crossing patterns, rub routes to get AJ open like KC, Bills, Rams, 49ers use? Well, I'm being told, Philly, Florida. Now, you can make of this what you will, and you don't have to believe it if you don't want. I'm being told that the offense that's being implemented is explicitly because of the quarterback. So if you're critical of the offense, which I am, and of the plan, the explanation that people have been given is it's because of the quarterback. The simple concepts, the consistent routes over and over again. They don't want complex routes because it forces quarterbacks to throw the ball into tight windows over the middle of the field. And all of those things increase your risk at turnovers. And all they're trying to do is be risk averse. I get it. Morty, I see your comments. I understand. This isn't the first coach to do this. There's been coaches in history who do this. But Morty, I also see you bringing up Saban and saying he wouldn't tolerate A.J. Brown. I don't necessarily know that that's true, my friend. Remember, when he needed to move the football in a game where they needed to move the football, he didn't hesitate. Can you imagine if a quarterback got benched at halftime of a Super Bowl? Can you imagine that? That's what I call a bold move. That's what I call coaching. That's what I call making a decision for the best of your team. So I don't really know that's a perfect comp. Prince, what's up, Prince? Prince, I'm curious where you stand, Prince, because I know you've been very hard on the coaches, and I don't disagree with you, by the way. This whole Nick philosophy is not my favorite. I don't think Kevin Petullo's added a whole lot of anything. But, Prince, where are you on Jalen? Like that, because again, it all comes back to Jalen, you know, the conversation. Everybody can bitch and moan about the coordinators, and I am too. I get it. It all comes down to Jalen in a way. It all circles back to the quarterback, like it always will in football. Look, this guy is such an idiot, dude. Let's accept that the offense is going to have some games like this for all us real fans. Yeah, right. You're the only real fan here, right? Is that right, Blackball? Is that right? Anybody that doesn't speak like you isn't a real fan. Is that what you're saying, Blackball? I shouldn't even give you the free fucking promo. That's the only reason your dumbass is here. I think I didn't read a super. Let me get it. No, I did get it. I did get it. I don't know, Prince. Let me know where you're at. I'm looking for your comment because Prince is a guy that you can have a conversation with. Agree, disagree, go back and forth, add context, be honest about it. Here's Manny. What's up, Manny? Thanks, dude. Z, how many times has Smitty gone for 30-plus on a drag? How many times has AJ gone for 30-plus on a motion deep cross? They don't run that anymore. BS. I'm with you, Manny. Again, I'm being told it's because the quarterback. They don't want him throwing the ball over the middle. They don't want to introduce more complex routes because it means he's going to have to put the ball into tighter windows, and they don't have the trust in him to do it anymore. Again, that's just the reality. Whether you agree with that is a whole different conversation. You hear John. He says he thinks they're unfair to Jalen Hurts. I agree. I think they're unfair to the quarterback. I'm just saying that's the approach. You, Jay Capello, listen to the fucking show. I'm not acting like I'm being told things in the dark here. I know people like to say John John talks to a lot of people in that organization. Okay, a lot of people, a lot of executives, a lot of people in the scouting staff, a lot of people in the draft room, a lot of coaches, a lot of players, a lot of people. Blackball, you know, I'm going silly around. You have to pay for my attention. You're dumb as a box of rocks. Zander, LML, Brandon, Zander also stiffs out of town fans and think, no, I don't, Emirates. I've never said I'm superior to anybody. And I don't hold that logic in anything, in any realm of life. So take that, Emirates, and stuff it up your own ass. Now I'm going to act like I treat people differently because they view things differently than me. Emirates, that's the epitome of everything I try not to be. I don't look at anybody like they're dirt on the bottom of my shoe. If you have a different opinion than me, fine. I don't think that makes you anything. Fuck that, Reyes. Yeah, now you're real funny to you, right, Reyes? Save that bullshit for Cilio. Don't come in here and talking to me like that, Reyes. Don't come in here talking to me like that. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Brandon. Not that I need anybody to stand in my corner. I'll stand alone. I don't give a rat's ass. King Josh says the real issue is Jalen. In the future, it will show. You might be right, man. JD3 says Nick Saban dealt with kids getting arrested mid-season several seasons. I think he could deal with AJ. He also benched Hurts because he couldn't get the ball to receivers. Bama fan since birth. JD, you are correct. Kelly says, no one wants to admit that. Although Jalen is a hell of a winner, the staff doesn't trust him throwing the ball unless it's one-on-one outside the numbers. I agree. Prince says, Zander, I don't believe that, bro. I've seen him throw over the middle and into tight windows. I hate that narrative. I agree with you, Prince, on this. What I'm saying to you is that that's the explanation for why they've gone away from it. Why don't they throw over the middle anymore? Why don't they give them tight windows to throw anymore? That's what they're saying. They want to be risk averse. They don't want those turnovers again. Again, Prince, that's the truth. Now, we don't have to agree. That's the truth of why they say they're doing it. We don't have to agree with that because I'm more in your camp. In fact, I'd rather them run it, and if it doesn't work, at least we know. Yeah, this Nimrod's done. He can fucking kick rocks. That's not Jalen there. That's the coaches. I agree with you. Motorscape says, they were literally taking AJ off the field in critical downs Monday night. That had me the most perplexed. Yeah, they were. It's weird, dude. It's weird. I mean, I'm going to read you guys some of the quotes again from AJ Brown. I mean, I promise you might get 200.
Hey. If you got me on fantasy, man, get rid of it.
AJ literally says, if you got me on fantasy, man, get rid of me. Get rid of me. Fly Eagles Fly says, Zander seeks out those that oppose him to advance. I do every day. Thank you, Fly Eagles Fly, for actually listening to the show and not coming in and speaking a bunch of narrative bullshit. Like Rays, don't play the same game with me that you play with Cilio. I don't buy your dumb shit. Don't speak on my name because you got a dumbass fanboy narrative. You want to talk about football and advance the conversation or debate me on something? That's perfectly fine. Z man, that is hilarious. Not gonna lie, I have AJ on fantasy. He's one of my best players. He certainly ain't one of your best fantasy producers. He's got like 300 yards. What else did he say? So AJ Brown playing Madden with Janky. He throws himself the ball. And he says, let's show him some love. Good things happen when you get touches. And then he scores a touchdown. He says, this is the only positive I got. I'll take it. Good things happen. Oh, man, that's funny. Ray, shut your bitch ass up. Z, AJ didn't target Smitty once in Madden, but at least he didn't put McKee in. That's true. That's true. AJ, hey, listen, man. Let AJ play Madden and throw himself the ball, all right? Let him throw himself the ball, all right, bro? This dude needs a win. This dude needs a win. I feel for AJ. I do. Like, you guys got to think about it, man. Like, imagine you had, I don't know what a good example would be. Imagine you were a hospital. That's probably not a good example. And you had the best surgeon in the country. And then somebody came in for a surgery in their field and they said, we're going to use the other guy. You'd be like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Imagine if you were a lawyer. You were the best litigator in the country. And you get a high-profile case. And somebody wants you to be their lawyer in a high-profile case. And then they say, we're going to use the other guy on the team to litigate. You're like, what? Fuck you hire me for? Fuck am I on this team for? I mean, maybe those aren't perfect examples, but sometimes I think people act like these are like, regular fucking jobs. Dude, it's not. It's not it. These guys are the best athletes in the world. He believes he's the best receiver in football. You're telling me they want to play offense and not use him? And he should just get in line? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. They're wasting him. They're wasting him. Using me, but not using me. I do feel for AJ, but Smitty is Roll Philly. Roll Philly. You might be a lawyer yourself, man. Exactly. See, this is the part that's so fucking true, man. AJ will get effed on his next contract and nobody gives a shit about him. Keith, that's because, and it's okay, but that's because fans are always going to care about the team first, and that's fine. They're entitled to care about the team first. But AJ cares about AJ as he should, just like every human being cares about it themselves and to some extent. People say, I got to care about myself because the people who rely on me need the best version of me. So if I don't have a healthy ego or a healthy level of selfishness, I can't get myself to be where I need to be for the people in my life. Same with AJ Brown. If I can't have a healthy level of selfishness, I'm not going to get in life what I want to get to. That will take care of the people I want to take care of, that will accomplish the things I want to accomplish. Everybody just looks at it, the team is winning. Who cares? It's not selfish for AJ to think like that. He's a human being. He's not just like an Eagle fanboy like M. Reyes. He's a human being. Corporate Pump says he's Team Tanner. If he truly wants to send a message, you should have put in Tanner. That's what somebody was saying, basically. Prince, what's up, Prince? Thank you for being advancing the conversation. Xander, here's my problem with the narrative. There have been two constants, Jalen and Nick. The times we struggle are when we lack experience in the room. Just look at it. Yeah, but Prince, last year they didn't ask Jalen to throw the ball. I mean, you get that, Prince. He had 2,900 passing yards. I mean, when's the last time a quarterback has played 16 out of 17 games in a season and threw for 2,900 yards? I don't even think I've ever heard that. Well, I mean, what's the lowest passing yards you I mean, that's I don't know how to find that stat. I'm just saying, like, I don't. Yeah, I mean, Prince, that's true. Kellen definitely figured out the running game. But remember, you had a different offensive line. They were not this banged up, man. Curtis says, Z, I'm lost. It's not risky to target AJ 10 times. Doesn't take Burrow to get the ball there, and it doesn't take Shannon to design the play. Shanahan. If you want to be simple, getting AJ easy touches is simpler. I think they're way too in love with this risk-averse thing. I don't even know if I'm with you, Carl. I don't even think they're doing it right. Like, you can get A.J. Brown the ball and still be risk-averse. Roll Philly says, I get A.J.'s frustrations, but, man, is this not kind of getting corny to you? Why didn't he just request a trade? It's not really corny to me because I understand him on a human level. Like, if you're only looking at it from an Eagle fan level, then I can understand, it's corny. But on a human level, it's not corny at all, dude. I mean, you got to have respect. Like, how did AJ become one of the best receivers in football? How did AJ become one of the highest paid receivers in football? That mentality is what got him here. So, like, now that he's here and he has that same mentality, it's not, you're saying it's corny. It's corny, I guess, from an Eagle perspective for people who only care about the Eagles, which is fine. I know a lot of fans are that, which is again, I get that. That's part of being a fan. You care about the Eagles. You're not a fan of the names on the back. The name on the front is a lot more important. I get it. But that just removes the human nature of this. That same mentality is what got him to this level. Now that he's at this level and they're not using him and he's got that same mentality, it's corny. It's corny for an Eagle fan. It's not corny for him. Washington says, I've been saying that, Zander. I don't give an F about A.J. Brown, and he don't give an F about me. Why are we sitting here feeling bad for the guy? I don't get it. It's not that I feel bad for him. It's that I understand him. It's that I understand him. Let's go to my boy Ryan on the bench. What's up, Ryan on the bench? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Do you think Jalen has been better without Nick? Doug P. Shane Steichen show, yes. Has Nick been better without Jalen? Kenny Pickett and Tanner games would say possibly yes. This is such a weird dynamic. That is an interesting point. Not a big enough sample size for Nick without Jalen, but I understand where you're going. Philly Tide says he didn't request a trade because he doesn't want to leave the team. He just wants the team to get him involved. I agree with that. I think he probably knows, though, that that's an uphill battle on this team. Prince, I'm with you. He's our number one. He should be getting targets. See, Prince, I think me and you are living in a world where it doesn't have to be you need a new quarterback to get him involved. Like, we can live in a world where you're risk averse and you win, and you throw the ball to A.J. Brown, who's your number one offensive skill set player. Like, I think that's the world we're living in, Prince. But isn't it starting to feel like that's fairy tale land? Not because of my opinion or because of your opinion, but because of what's happening week in and week out. Like, isn't that starting to feel like fairy tale land? Here's Morty. Morty, good question here. Morty says, how do you all explain Nick and Jalen's success stretching over Steichen, Kelsey, Saquon, and all the others? Seriously, how does one explain it over all that time? Well, Morty, how much credit of that do you put on the roster building? Because is this the best 5-year run of Howie Roseman's career? I think it is. So that's how people would explain the success. You had the number one defense in football last year. You had the number one running game in football last year. Is that because of Nick and Jalen? Is the best defense in football last year because of Nick and Jalen? Is holding the Green Bay Packers to 7 points because of Nick and Jalen? I mean, I don't like this. The only reason I don't like this conversation is because it makes it seem like the only reason for the winning is because of Nick and Jalen's approach. And I don't find that to be true. In fact, I would say everything outside of those two guys is the reason they won last year. That's not to criticize them, but the defense is not because of Nick and Jalen. And the running game last year was not because of Nick and Jalen. And they were successful. So the most successful they've been was not because of Nick and Jalen. So how can you just extrapolate that to 4 years and say, boy, these guys deserve all the credit for the success? They're a part of the success. That's not to say they're not a part of it. They're a part of it, but they're not the reason for it. They're not the reason for it. Abe, are you in here? What's this you just sent me? Yeah, I see that. Clearly a different offense now, Abe. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe I didn't mean it maybe to that extreme level. He did have an impact on the running game. I just mean, you had the running game, which aided you. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't, if you take Jalen out of it, all right, the everything falls flat. I'm not of that belief. The running game was Jalen Prince. Come on, man. Jalen help it? Absolutely. Is Jalen another threat? Absolutely. You're going to sit here and tell me Saquon, who had, 8 touchdowns of 60-plus yards last year, is all because of Jalen? Come on, man. Isn't that delegitimizing Saquon a little bit? Chuck says, we're the most frustrated 7-2 fans out there. Well, Chuck, pursuing greatness means you spend most of the time miserable. Welcome to pursuing greatness. Anybody that pursues greatness understands that there's not a lot. A lot of people just want to be happy. All right, good. Be happy. You go. You're 7-2. Be happy. I don't care. That's fine. This isn't the show for you then, if that's the case. This isn't the show for people if that's the case. Z won't be giving away any A.J. Brown jerseys this year. I think I have one more still. I think I still got one more. Roll Philly says, Z, is it just me or is it painfully obvious that Nick makes the offensive coordinator run a style of his offense, which was no, that's definitely happening. Nick wants risk averse. Kevin Patullo has to call an offense inside the risk averse approach. That's for sure true. Which is why I said earlier on this show today, how do we really even judge? Honestly, can anybody answer this for me? How do we really judge Kevin Patullo? Think about it. How do we honestly judge an offensive coordinator that only is allowed to call an offense within the risk-averse approach that they have? It's basically impossible. And honestly, Rolf, I feel the same about Jalen. How can I honestly judge Jalen in an offense where they're not asking him to do fucking anything? How can we judge Patullo? How can we accurately assess where Jalen Hurts is in his career as a quarterback? How can we honestly assess his development as a passer of the football when they don't ask him to do anything? They don't ask Kevin Patullo to call any. They don't ask him to be creative. They don't want him to be creative. They want him to be risk averse. Corporate Pump says, we have too many casuals in this fan base. NFL defenses would actually respect the passing game with Tanner at quarterback, thus opening the run game comedy. A lot of people do hold that belief. All right. Here's Philly Tide. Even in the Super Bowl, when it came for the time for the dagger, Nick's ass was stuttering and nervous to call the damn play. They did call it, but it took them being up 24 to call it, right? That's why I'm wordy than miserable. Brady will be the first to say the same thing, Zay. Absolutely, Kimberly. Average is the enemy. Average is the enemy for high achievers. Here's JD3. Going to this style of offense last year was Nick's idea, so he is kind of the reason last year. Yeah, well, remember, it was the offensive line who met with them, and then it started working, and that's what I think they really – but the Eagles are now 2.5-point favorites. Is that what they are this week? That makes sense. You get 3 points at home, so it's a push. It's a pick'em game. It's a pick'em game between the Eagles and the Lions. It's a pick'em. It's a pick'em. Good win last night for the Sixers, by the way. Like that win, man. Good stuff down the stretch. A lot of clutch buckets. From some unlikely sources. You get that Edwards guy was hooping last night. Justin Edwards had 22 in that game. Maxey only had 21. I think his lowest output of the year. Nice clutch bucket at the end of the game by Kelly Oubre. Trendon Watford didn't have as good of a game, but that's all right. I thought Andre Drummond, provided some nice center play in there. Good rebounds. Yo, is it just me? I don't know the stat on this in basketball. Is it just me, or does it feel like the Sixers give up more offensive rebounds than any team I've ever fucking seen? Feels like every time they're up the floor, they're giving up an offensive rebound. I mean, dude, second chance points. Get the boards. Fundamental basketball. Box out, get a rebound. I mean, come on, man. That's what bothers me sometimes about the modern game. It's like just because you want to jack more threes, all right, that's fine. Play fundamentals, though. Fundamentals don't just remove. You can't just remove the fundamentals from the game. Box out, get rebounds. First thing you should do. Defensive side of the floor, box out, get boards. If you can box out and get boards, you're going to limit the other team's possessions. Limit the other team's chance at points. Yeah, it bothers me. I like fundamental basketball, man. I like fundamentals of everything. Bothers me with that, with the rebounding. I don't know what the messages are, or the stats are. Yeah, I see Abe sending me a bunch of, what are these, 22? Abe, it's almost crazy to look at that, dude. Abe sent me all the AJ route trees from 22. Completely different offense. Yeah, Ro, I understood what you were saying there more than John. John just likes he likes head coaches that are CEO coaches. He doesn't want to play calling head coach. No one boxes out anymore. They prioritize getting back in defense first. Box out, get a board. I'm not even talking about boxing out on the offensive side. I'm talking about boxing out on the, what do you mean get back on defense? They're on defense. I'm talking about offensive boards for the other team. I'm talking about getting back on defense. I'm not talking about getting your own miss. I'm not talking about chasing your own ball. I'm talking about getting the board when the opposing team misses a shot. The Celtics were like 30% from the field in the first half last night. The Sixers didn't capitalize on it enough, and then they came back in the third quarter easily when they started hitting more shots, because most of the time when you have a half of basketball where somebody shoots 30%, they're probably not going to shoot 30% the whole game. They're going to start hitting more shots. Just like if you have a half of basketball where you shoot 70%, you're probably not going to shoot 70% the whole game. That's why you got to capitalize on those opportunities. The Celtics were awful in that first half. The fact that we went into the halftime last night up 12 was egregious. Or 12 or 13, whatever it was. It was like 51-39 or something. Going into halftime of that game was up 12 was ridiculous. The Celtics couldn't put a beach ball in the ocean, or a golf ball in the ocean, if you will. The Sixers one of the worst transition defenses in the NBA. Yeah, the third quarters are weird, but that stuff will regulate itself, man. Agree. Rebounding is our flaw because of our guard-heavy team. Yeah, and you got these old center. I mean, look, I like Drummond, but he's an older guy. He doesn't move so quick. And Bona, for as good, for as good as he is, he does struggle a little bit with rebounding. Or at least it feels like he is, because, not really, but it feels like he does because of the other teams, get so many boards. But, I don't like Bourne, real quick. I don't love the excuse either that we're guard heavy. I don't love the excuse that we're guard heavy. And this is obviously not a perfect example at all. And people will probably get mad at this example because it's certainly not an NBA example. All right. But it's just about the fundamentals of the game. When I played basketball, okay? When I played basketball, the only thing I tried to do was box people out. When my dad played basketball, my dad is 5'11". My dad was the center for his high school basketball team at 5'11". The center. He said he wasn't even the tallest guy on the team, and he was the center. But rebounding is not just about being the tallest guy. It's not just about being, I'm a center or a power forward, so I get boards. You got to want to do it, and you got to play fundamental. You got to box people out. That's how you get boards. You don't need to be the tallest guy on the floor. Like Quentin Grimes, he can get boards. Edwards, he can get boards. Jabari Walker, he can get boards. Look at Edgecombe. I watch Edgecombe get boards he shouldn't get. I watch Edgecombe block people he's got no business blocking. You know, I agree with you that, you know, when you're guard heavy, you're going to get less boards. But my opinion is that to me is not why they're not getting rebounds. Like a lot of times I see when the opposing team gets an offensive board, nobody boxed out. And I'm like, yeah, everybody's running free. The ball takes one bounce somewhere and fucking the other team gets it. How many second chance points did the Celtics have last night? How many second chance points did they have? Does anybody have like an advanced statistic website for basketball? For shit like that? Does anybody have like a good site? Yes, he was, Morty. I don't know how you knew that, but he was. Center in hoops and football. My dad. I'll never forget when I was a kid. My dad played football late into his life, man. Like I was like a kid. He was still coming home from like men's league football. Pretty funny. Get used to it, Z. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Shit, I was a center at 6'1". I was taught all the best dirty tricks available. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to go and get the ball. Rich, I'm about 5 feet tall. Come on, man. I'm like 5'10". I was a good hooper. You know what I love about basketball too? I love this about the NBA. I love this about basketball. It's one of those sports where I don't know how to explain this, but like you can go into a random like LA Fitness and you can see some motherfuckers that can like hoop. Like they can hoop, dude. They get to the rim, they dunk, they shoot, they can hoop. And you're like, damn, these dudes are fucking good. And then NBA is just like, they're a different level. Now, I know that's the case in everywhere. I get it. But like, it just feels like sometimes the NBA guys are so fucking good at ball. They're so good. Because like you'll watch a dude who looks like he'd be great at every level. Then they start to level up and it's like, no way. No way. Different level. I don't know how to explain that. It's tough to explain what I mean, but Weak Buns, he said, what's going on with AJ after a win? He's not happy, dude. They don't throw the ball to him. He's got zero role in the offense. Zero role in the offense. Dude ain't happy. It is what it is. Somebody just responded to me. Two things can be true. The offense can be certified ass cheeks, and AJ is a certified female. Ha! If he's balanced up mentally, then he's been given horrible advice to make things public. Eagles fans are absolutely justified in being sick of AJ every week, every fucking week. Zero role on offense. Last points of the series. Yeah, it was. Kelly Oubre. Good putback by him. First bad shot of the night for Edwards, but that's fair. Z, how would you grade Morey's tenure here? Not good. Like he's done some good things in terms of drafting and stuff. So I don't crush him as much as I used to, but I am so fucking sick of trading for these old head dudes like Paul George, James Harden, all these guys that they bring in over and over again. Like that's not a good. I don't think that's a good approach. Think about it. We have two of the worst. We maybe have two of the worst contracts in basketball right now in the Sixers with Paul George and Embiid. I don't know how many games Embiid's going to play this year. I don't think many. Gonzalo says, seemed like they were open up the offense last season in bigger games and during the playoffs. I wonder if they will do that again in the playoffs. That's not really true. It's not really true. Honestly. I mean, if you look at the nitty-gritty of it, it's not that true. What do you mean opened up the offense in the playoffs? They threw for like 90 net yards versus the Rams. And they had 215 running yards. and 2 touchdowns from Saquon. Is that opening up the offense? Versus the Packers, I think they threw for 130. Is that opening up the offense? No. Jordan Love had 3 interceptions in that game and a fumble. The defense, and they gave up 10 points total. Defense won the game versus the Packers, didn't open up the offense. Rams game, they ran the ball very successfully and won the ball, on the skin of their teeth at the end there in a snow game. Good bout, but certainly wasn't an opened up offense. Now you can make the argument, and in Washington they did, but think about how they played in that game. They started the game with a touchdown run to Saquon Barkley in that game, his first scrimmage touchdown. He had 3 touchdowns in that game, and the defense, had a good night. I mean, they had only given up, I don't know, a couple points in the first half. I forget how many it was. I think they gave up like a touchdown or 2. I mean, the defense allowed you to get such a big lead. You know what I mean? So, like, that changes the way you play football games. Same with the Super Bowl. Like, people leave out so much context on that Super Bowl. They didn't just come out and just like the defense was the reason they built the lead in the Super Bowl. Can everybody agree to that? The offense was good, but remember, Jalen had a first half interception in that game. Again, not to criticize Jalen, I'm just saying, like, the defense was fucking lights out in that game. When you have a defense that's not allowing a team to get past the 10, yeah, you can open things up a little bit more. I'm not of the belief that, like, we had a different offense in the playoffs. We didn't really. So Sean says, I want so bad for AJ to go to New England next year and lead the NFL and everything. He deserves better than these fans. Well, they're fans of the Eagles. They're not fans of AJ, and that's okay. People are going to have that perspective. But again, I've always tried to put the human element in the game. I've always cared about the human element with the game. Always have, always will, to me. And I understand where AJ's coming from. I really do. And further about the team, I'm not of the belief that this is an offense right now that can win, where that can go to the Super Bowl. I mean, last year we had the running game. We don't have that right now. Anybody trying to tell me we have a running game right now? Is anybody trying to tell me that we have a good running game right now? Because we don't. Big Mike says, the passing game versus the Rams was affected by the snow, and Barkley banged his head off a goalpost run. Yeah, he had 2 of them. Big Mike, what do you mean the snow affected the passing game? Well, obviously it did. Weather's always going to be a factor in the game. But that was my point about why people said we won a different way in the playoffs. No, we didn't. And by the way, Matthew Stafford threw for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. He lost. I get it. He had 324 passing yards in the game and 2 touchdowns. No picks. Just saying. They lost 2 fumbles in that game, the Rams. They lost 2 fumbles in that game. 2 fumbles. They had 2 fumbles. Yeah, but I'm talking about the passing game. Stafford is playing like the best quarterback in football right now. He's lights out right now. He is fucking cooking fools. He is so on target. I love watching him play, man. He is a great quarterback. He really is a great quarterback. I mean, look, they built that defense up this year. They think they're gonna have a chance to beat us. Corporate Pump says Tanner keeps AJ happy. We need to see McKee at the helm. I just want to see Tanner with this starting offense. It could be magical. I'm not going there. Motorscape, thanks for becoming a member, bro. Appreciate you, my man. Here's Kelly. Kelly says, no one wants to admit that although Jalen is a hell of a winner, the staff doesn't trust him throwing the ball unless it's one-on-one outside the numbers. It does appear that that is true. It does appear that that is true for now. It does appear that that is true for now. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here. Good. We'll do a giveaway tomorrow, all right? We'll do the giveaway tomorrow on Thursday, on Thursday's edition of the show. Who's the Thursday game this week? Who's the Thursday game this week? Anybody know the Thursday game? The Stafford Snow game destroys the fanboys narrative. Yeah, Brandon, nobody wants to. I always like to add context. I'm honestly never. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I am not trying to always be right at all. I just want to always give the proper context so that people can understand the full situation. Because I think so many people cherry pick shit. And I'm probably guilty of it at times too, where you cherry pick shit to fit your narrative. But I would rather somebody introduce context to me that completely disproves my narrative than leave out information that's valid to the conversation. I would always rather be proven wrong with the proper context than leave the context out so that I can be proven right. I'm in search of the truth. At least I try and be. Right now, what I know is that this Eagles offense is trash. This is a shit offense. This offense blows. This offense blows. Maxwell says, let AJ go back to being a loser. Okay, Maxwell. I also hate the simpleton brain of that. Oh, the best receiver, one of the best receivers in football, thinks the offense is bad, but I, Maxwell Hudson, know more than him. Or think he's stupid and can go back to just being a loser. All right. Sean says, that's why I say stats are misleading unless you apply them all. Well, Sean, it'll always happen because there's so much context in the game of football. So sometimes things will always be left out. Like you can never have every piece of context in the conversation. But I do always try and bring up other points of view and other context that, you know, is on the other side of a narrative or on whatever side of a narrative, you know, to get closer to the truth. Yeah, completely smooth brain take. Completely smooth brain. But those people exist. So. A.J. Brown's career won't be remembered, and it isn't his fault. Curtis, I agree. But not a lot of people want to hold that, you know. Z, like I said, he's the loudest wide receiver 2 in the NFL. Roll, but the offense sucks, dude. You think we're going to roll? Can you roll? I want you to be as honest with me as you can because I appreciate the way you're a fan. I have no problem with the way that you're a fan. I really don't. We view it a little differently, but I have no problem with the way you're a fan. Do you believe that the offense right now is good enough to go to the Super Bowl again? I know we're 7-2 and we're winning a lot of games. We beat the Rams. We beat the Packers. We beat the Buccaneers. We beat the Chiefs. We beat the Cowboys. So, yeah, there's a lot in your favor. A lot of context is in your favor. Do you believe the offense right now we can go to the Super Bowl with the offense what they are right now or what they've been through 9 games? Forget just coming off of this week. Daniel says yes. Our offense is effing trash. Yes, it is. If the line gets healthy, yes. Okay. Not against Rams or Seattle. Jason, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Daniel says we can pull some shit out of a hat. They do have evidence of that, but that is an awful strategy when you have this many good players. Let's just hope they have a good day. I think Cam's out for a while. Me too, Jason. Here's Roll following up. If we play like we did against the Vikings, yes. Packers, no. It also depends on if our defense is lights out. So you're kind of just, it's again, the inconsistency thing. It's like, all right, we got to hope that we get the right offense in those playoff games or else we're screwed. Here's a hypothetical. Good hypothetical, Gary. Here's a hypothetical. Let's say we beat Detroit this week. Yeah, it's going to be tough to say that we're not going to be able to beat anybody, which I would agree with at that point. I mean, I think that then the context would probably become overwhelming that it doesn't matter how bad we are. We figure out how to win no matter who it is. And there's an art to that. There's a credit level to that. There is something to elite teams that figure out how to win no matter what adversity or odds they face. Richie says, Andrew, a large amount of Eagles fans need to make it at least one player coach into the boogeyman outsider. It's true. I think if we play offense like we did last week, I'm not of the belief that we would beat the Lions, but I could be proven wrong. I mean, you never know. This defense is so good. This defense is playing really good right now. So, look, it's the same situation we were in last year in a sense. The defense is the star of the football team, and if the defense dominates, we're going to have a chance in every game, no matter who we play. Lions, Rams, Chiefs, don't give a shit. If the defense is this lights out, we're going to be right in the mix. But it feels a little bit wild to me that we have to rely so heavily on the defense. Like, in other words, if the defense, let's just say the defense falls off or isn't able to keep up the pace that they have the last couple weeks, are we confident that the offense can will us to a win? What if we need the offense to win the game for us instead of the defense winning the game for us? Do we feel confident that the offense can do that? They did it versus the Vikings and the Giants. The Vikings, I think, are like 500 now. What's the Vikings record? The Vikings are 4-5. They're below 500. The Giants are 2-8. Blowout. This 7-2 record isn't a Sirianni record. It's a Vic record. The defense did take some time. It's wild because of the investment on offense, not because of football. I agree. And then there's Dabney. He's like, Zander's a pocket watcher. I'm like, bro, I'm a lot of things. Pocket watcher is not one of them. We're talking about a salary cap game here, guys. A lot of the Eagles' resources, which are finite, they're finite. They're finite resources. That's a part of any conversation. Doesn't make you a fucking pocket watcher. That was the stupidest comment I've ever seen. But that Dabney guy is not very smart. That Dabney guy is total fanboy, which is okay. Again, he's allowed to be a fanboy, but, I don't view things like that. Zander, what's up, man? What's up, Houston? Hope you're doing well, my guy. Yeah, when you have finite resources, Brandon, there's always going to be a conversation of how they're deployed. Okay? There's always going to be a conversation of how they're deployed. Shit, I ask myself the same thing every day with JAKIB. I got finite resources. How do I deploy them? The offense is not watchable, bro. Ugly. I'm with you, Tony. It's bad. Z, this team has the pieces to do it. Stop. Big Mike, what pieces? This is John's point. The pieces are there on paper, but the pieces have never proven to do what they need to do. The running game doesn't exist anymore. And you kiss that amazing running game we had last year goodbye. I think it's gone. I think it doesn't exist. We're 9 games in. We're more than halfway through the year. Flash, I talked about this before the game, and not everybody, and a lot of people didn't want to hear it. Jalen struggles in the cold. We have the pieces, we don't use it. Zander, defense wins championships. All right, Big Mike, so why did we let everybody walk on defense then? Because we're paying the offense. Better hope. Better hope that defense holds up, Mike. Better hope, my friend. All right, I'm out of here. Love all you guys, man. Didn't get to bed till late last night. It's always funny whenever I get no sleep. I am not the kind of dude that's like, let me catch up on all the sleep tonight. It just is what it is. All right, love all you guys. Hit the like button on the show today. Big thanks to everybody for the support on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere you're watching. We appreciate it. All these super chats, always enjoy it. Thank you very much. Hit the like button. I'll catch you guys later, all right? Peace.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.